Okay, just give me 1 second.
It'll take your time, but you know.
Yep. We're going to have to go with Councillor Clark's flag. My computer will not let me download anything right now. So sorry about that. But I'm ready to get started if you are.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. This is just to open the Town of Barnstable Town Council meeting. This is February 18th, 2021, and it is currently 7:02. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone is recording this meeting, and if so, please make your presence known at this time. Hearing none, we have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilors Athalis,
Present.
Hogan,
Present.
Clark.
Here.
Gagwan. Rapresetti.
Present.
Hebert.
Present.
Levesque.
Here.
Neary.
Present.
Knapp.
Here.
Gar.
Here.
Gar is here. Sorry, thank you. Steinhilber.
Here.
So we have 11.
Thank you.
I'm here, Ann. You didn't call me.
I wondered what I missed there. Thank you. Sorry, Jen.
Excellent. And at this time, I'd like to have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can mute your mics. And Councilor Hebert, if you could please lead us in the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. President. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Hebert. Thank you, Councilor Clark, for being in season with our colors. Much appreciated. At this time, I would also like to take a time for a moment of silence. Thank you. And at this time, I would like to open up for any public comment. Sarah, do we have anybody in the queue for public comment?
Yes, we do. Just give me 1 second.
Thank you.
First up for public comment is John Julius. John, you have 3 minutes. You may begin now. You need to unmute, Mr. Julius.
Is that okay now?
You are on, Mr. Julius. 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone on the council. Thank you for the time that you guys put in. I know you give countless time and energy and hours, and most of the town appreciates that. Hopefully everybody. I wanted to speak very briefly tonight on a couple matters. Number one, on the wastewater plan, and I do understand there is a pending lawsuit, so I understand probably the council's inability maybe to be able to comment on it, but nevertheless, I'm a little disappointed because seemingly, in my opinion anyway, and I've just heard from a lot of people around town, there hasn't been a whole lot of talk around, and seemingly there are way more questions are answered. Quite honestly, I don't believe the costs. I believe the costs are going to be probably like another big dig. Many people here in Barnstable know what the big dig was many years ago. I don't trust the cost. I'm not sure who's making these decisions. Most importantly, in that regard, to the best of my knowledge, over in Yarmouth, they had a vote of their taxpayers. I'm not sure whether you as a governing body, as the council, are aware, there is a law in Massachusetts, I believe it's chapter 83, might be section 1A, where the municipality, which is we the voters, are supposed to be aware of the cost, and it's supposed to be on the ballot for us as a whole and a municipality. That's the way the law is written. And to my knowledge, this has never even been discussed. And I think going forward, that needs to be discussed, number one. Number two, I'd like to see the council begin to delve more into the costs, because I'll tell you, I was in construction myself for 30 years. And I don't believe those costs. And I believe that you're going to be taxing a lot of people in Barnstable completely out of their home. Enough said on that. I'm sure there'll be more to come down the line. With respect to the lawsuit, the best advice I guess I could give to you as a governing body, because if I was sitting there as a counselor, I would take this advice, and that is say, I would not mess around with this federal judge, Judge Wolf. He's got a tremendous background in environmental matters such as this. I've read the merits of that lawsuit, and I don't need a law degree to tell you or anybody else. And I'm not playing attorney, but I can tell you the merits of that lawsuit are frightening. I don't think the town of Barnstable stands one snowflake in the snow of a chance of going anywhere. That's a loss. There's no way the town of Barnstable can defend this loss. When you look at the merits of it, and I hope that you as a governing body, again, you can do it in the open public, go behind closed doors. But I'll look every one of you straight in the eye right now and tell you, you don't stand a chance of winning that loss. And so I would talk to the town attorneys, pop an alpha plea. We don't have time to discuss and go into the merits of what an alpha plea is all about. But suffice it to say, I think the town needs to get this lawsuit resolved as quickly as possible. And I'm a little incensed because I'm not completely aware of it, but I had heard some statement that the town had given a law firm up in Boston some money. I would get that money back, and I would do your best, do your due diligence on behalf of a taxpayer in this town, not to waste that money, because I'll tell you, look at the merit, talk to some attorneys. The town of Barnstable does not stand a chance in that. They may say otherwise, some people at the top. But I'll tell you right now, you can look back a month from now, 3 months from now, whenever it's resolved, and I'll promise you, the town doesn't stand it. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Julius.
Next up for public comment, we have Brian Hughes. Brian, now is your chance to speak. You have 3 minutes.
You're on mute, Mr. Hughes.
My name is Brian Hughes. I live at 234 Greenwood Avenue with my wife, Kim McGuire. Tonight's town council meeting includes an update from the Cape Cod Commission on their priorities for the coming year, which may include proposed apartment development complex at 35 Fetter Avenue, Twin Brook Golf Course. You may recall that we have addressed the town council in the past, addressing concerns of over 35 neighbors on the cleaning up of Stewart's Creek. We work closely with Town Councilor Jen Cullum, DPW Head Dan Santos, and the Woods Hole Group in improving the quality of Stewart's Creek in this environment. Tonight, I want to introduce the high-level concerns of the 35 Scudder Avenue neighbors, concerns that will be addressed in greater detail at the Cape Cod Commission hearing on February 25th. Many of the neighbors are part of the original Stewart's Creek Preservation Group, along with concerned neighbors from the West End Rotary down to Hyannisport. Our concerns include traffic congestion and safety, increased traffic congestion from the West End Rotary to Hyannisport roadways from 650 plus residents, including cars, school and RCA buses, trucks, utility vehicles, construction vehicles, pedestrians, and bicycles. If you recall back to about a week or so ago when the Melody tent opened up for vaccinations, there was a massive gridlock just from the excess number of traffic cars coming in. And the entry to the vaccination place is directly across from 35 Gutter. Second, impact in our well-established neighborhood. The development promises to radically change the population and nature of Hyannis and Hyannisport neighborhood, adding 312 apartments and approximately 650 plus residents, equal to or greater than the number of summer residents in Hyannisport. Third, pedestrian safety. These 650 plus new residents raise potential for increased pedestrian accidents in an area lacking enough crosswalks, stop signs, pedestrian crossing signs, street lights, bike lanes, and causing the pedestrians to cross the roadway intersection improperly. Another point is impact on wetlands and wetlife. Development could reverse the 2-year effort of Stewart's Creek neighbors to clean up and restore Stewart's and Joshua Creek to their natural habitat and wildlife. Property borders both creeks. Continuous flooding and runoff are concerns and may add pollution that would flow all the way to area beaches, impacting the benthic population, which Woods Hole Group says has recently recovered. And finally, the development plan. Property zoned for single-family homes. Proposed development would require granting significant variances in building and zoning regulations that were put into effect to preserve the integrity of the neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Your time.
Next for public comment, we have Farley Lewis. Farley, you have 3 minutes. Just make sure you unmute yourself.
Okay, good. All right, I just wanted to add my voice to the other concerned citizens regarding this project at 35 Scudder Avenue. I feel as though this is the scale of this project is way too large and inappropriate for the site. And I'm especially concerned about the effect it is going to have on the drainage and wetland area that it will most certainly impact. So I really want a very close study of all the environmental factors involved with this project before it even begins to be discussed any further. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Next for public comment is Tara Vargas Wallace. Tara, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, thank you for having me. I would just like to advocate strongly for the creation of ADUs. As someone who works very closely with all walks of life, from people with severe socioeconomic challenges to mid-level earning professionals, I see that the need for affordable housing is a very dire issue and has been for a very long time, very many years. And so I'm here to strongly advocate for the creation of ADUs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vargas Wallace.
Next, we have Ann Rowland. Ann, now is your chance to speak. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I am Ann Rowland. I live in Centerville. Happy resident of town of Barnstable. And I am here tonight because I do have grave concerns about a development. Well, I've forgotten the name of the development, but it's behind, if you will, Dunphy. And I've played golf there. The golf course is always wet. I'm very concerned about environmentally how that will impact. It's a wetlands back there. I'm very concerned how it will affect the whole town. Summer traffic is tough down by the West End Rotary, much less if this development comes in. I can't imagine what it will do to Greenwood, Scudder, the West End Rotary. And the businesses at the west end of town rely on parking, and there's not enough of it. And if we have that many more residents move to that area and park there, I'm afraid we will lose more restaurants and shops on Main Street. And our Main Street will change the composition, which is right now sort of a big village area. And I think it's wonderful. And I love walking down Main Street and grabbing a coffee and stopping and seeing people. I'm very much afraid we are going to lose the climate of the friendship and neighbors and tourists all getting together and walking down Main Street. And I'm also very concerned about with this many people living in that area. I have no idea what the DPW is going to do with wastewater. I mean, I already read today that we all know, because we're trying to get sewered, that we've got a terrible nitrogen loading problem. And here we've got more housing coming in. And then I find out that we're in trouble because nitrogen is escaping the plant and going into the estuaries and affecting our coast. So I just don't see this development here. I don't see where it would add to anything in the town, and it would take away from the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goins.
Okay, next for public comment is Kate Gulliver. Kate, you have 3 minutes. You can just unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Kate Gulliver. I'd like to propose that the Twin Brook Golf Course be nominated for a DCPC, a District of Critical Planning Concern designation. It borders fragile wetlands and creeks that drain into Lewis Bay, and it's in a flood zone. But most importantly, it's a 40-acre undeveloped green space, and it's the only such green space in the village of Hyannis. And Hyannis is the only village in the town of Barnstable without significant conservation space. Every other village has multiple acres set aside for publicly accessible hiking and biking trails, but Hyannis does not. And so here's an opportunity to provide the residents of Hyannis, as well as visitors, with public green space, which is critical to the well-being of the people as well as the environment. And I think this is a use of Twin Brook that would serve a far wider range of citizens in the proposed development. So I ask you to consider it. Also, we neighbors who live in this neighborhood have concerns about the project, which is huge. There are around 300 households in the neighborhood, and many of us don't think this project, the largest housing project on Cape Cod, being built in an ecologically sensitive single-family residential zone, is a good idea. Here are a few of the reasons. 10 years ago, the town spent millions of dollars, and the residents are still paying for the sewer system that was installed to help clean up Stewart and Joshua Creek. Now you're proposing to endanger those creeks and wetlands again with a massive project. We object. An environmental impact study should be done. Now, by the way, I think, as you must know, the sewer system to which the project intends to hook up is being sued by the Conservation Law Foundation for violation of the Clean Water Act because it's allowing sewage and pollutants from the treatment plant to enter nearby streams and bays. And you want to add another 312 housing units to this faulty system? I don't think that's a good idea. Number two, traffic congestion and gridlock at the west end of Hyannis will be worse, making the downtown area less, not more desirable to citizens and tourists alike. Three, substantial increase in foot traffic, especially along Greenwood Avenue and into Hyannisport, will cause safety, traffic, noise, and crash issues for the neighborhood. Four, air and runoff pollution from the 500 plus additional cars housed in the neighborhood will not be good. There'll also be noise pollution from the new 650 renters in the neighborhood. There will be substantial light pollution disturbing the quiet enjoyment of our property, as well as destroying the existing 40 acres of dark habitat, which is a very rare commodity in this town. And it is vital to the local flora and fauna. And finally, there's a loss of property value that is a major concern for people in the neighborhood. A project of this extensive scale in a single-family neighborhood causing increased density, congestion, pollution, as well as being an eyesore and destroying green space will adversely affect property values. There's no doubt about that. So I'd like to ask all of you, since you seem to think this is a great idea, would you think so if it were being built in your neighborhood? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next for public comment is Megan Newman. Megan, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I probably won't go as long as Kate, but I share her many concerns. I grew up in this neighborhood and I can't imagine a project that is less suited to this place than being built by a developer who tends to build ginormous housing projects on wetlands in Florida. The density is a ginormous concern, as is the traffic impact. The environmental impact hasn't even been studied, but it's going to be overwhelming. I mean, this backs onto wetlands. And I also question the economic viability of the project. I mean, the idea of a gated community at this end of Hyannis, do these people know the economic disparity of, I mean, who is renting or buying in these places that isn't just an Airbnb situation with rapid turnover? I don't see how this fuels the economic engine of Hyannis in the long term. And Greenwood Avenue is certainly not suitable for the kind of traffic impact that this development is going to create. So that is my objection, and I hope you will take it serious.
Thank you, Ms. Newman.
Except for public comment, we have Julie Jones. Julie, you have 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and begin.
Hi there. Thanks for taking my call. I've been reading about green communities recently. And my research shows that while there are many towns on the Cape that have gone through the process of becoming a green community, I don't see Barnstable on this list at all. And I'm a little surprised about that, because it seems to me that Barnstable had been making some headway with energy efficiency, saving money for our town, improving building licenses, building records. I guess I'm wondering, where is Barnstable in this process, and why aren't we doing more to become a green community? I would love to know who we would talk to find out what's happening with that. I will check with my town councilor, and hopefully he'll be able to let me know that we are indeed pursuing green community. There seems to be no reason why we would not do that. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. So basically, I'd like to know who is in charge of getting this started and working on it. I'm wondering why Barnstable is so slow about getting this done. And I will find out more about this by talking with my town councilor, but I wanted all of you to know that this is something that Barnstable needs to do. There doesn't seem to be any good reason not to be doing this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Next up for public comment is Bob Colford. Bob, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Bob Colford, and my wife and Lynn and I live at number 67 Fiddler Circle. And we, in Hyannis, Lynn's parents, Vincent and Barbara Conroy, built our house about 60 years ago, and it has been in the family ever since. It's a beautiful spot, a cul-de-sac abutting conservation land, and Joshua's Creek runs right through our backyard. Across the creek, we see the Twin Brook Golf Course, and in between, there's a protected wetland. Of course, we strive to protect that wetland too. Lynn was in her adolescence when her parents lived there, and she remembers going out on the creek in a rowboat with her father. She could look down into several feet of clear water and see fish swimming beneath the boat. Sadly, what was once a clear creek has more recently become something of a mud puddle. under attack by invasive Phragmites and trash. The golf course can't bear sole responsibility or blame, as upstream real estate development is clearly a major contributing factor in this water quality degradation. 20 years ago, Lynn and I embarked upon a relatively minor project at our home within the footprint of the existing structure. Conservation Commission specifically forbade any asphalt paving or bituminous berms, citing wetland damage as the reason. We agreed to use crushed seashells on our walkways and driveways, among other requirements, to prevent further degradation to precious and already stressed water resources. We respectfully ask that our town, our county, and the Cape Cod Commission hold any future developments in that golf course to the same standard. The proposal before us specifies large amounts of impervious pavement, replacing trees and other vegetation. The project under consideration is, in our view, a formula for additional excessive stormwater runoff into Joshua's Creek. For this reason, we oppose it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. All right. Sarah, do we have anybody else for public comment?
That is all we have for public comment at this time.
Okay. Now we'll open it up to council response to public comment. Councilor Cullen, please.
Yes, thank you. And I wanted to say thank you to all the residents of Greenwood and Fiddlers for coming out tonight to speak about their concerns with regard to the proposed development at 35 Scudder. I think it's important that we, again, lay out process and maybe address some concerns about the wastewater plant. If I could ask staff to maybe set out, maybe Elizabeth Jenkins from planning could come and talk a bit about process, where we are in the process now on this particular project. And then maybe if Director Santos could speak to the issue with regard to sewering Stewart's Creek, that would be really helpful, I think, in bringing everybody onto the same page.
Thank you, Councilor Cullen. Councilor Director Jenkins, would you like to go first?
I'd be happy to. Good evening, councilors. Elizabeth Jenkins, Director of Planning and Development. So yes, so there is a development proposed at 35 Scudder by Lennar Multifamily for a redevelopment of the golf course with 312 rental units along with associated amenities. I can give an update in terms of the regulatory process, where it is and where we expect it to go at this point. So this project, this property is not within the growth incentive zone. So this property, the proposed development, is subject to the jurisdiction of the Cape Cod Commission. At this point, the developer has engaged both the town and the commission in preliminary conversations about the project, and they have filed preliminary applications with the commission related to the development process that will be required for review of this proposed development. Approximately 2 weeks ago, a subcommittee of the Cape Cod Commission heard a presentation from LMC, Lennar Multifamily Communities, on their request to, again, permit this process through a development agreement with the Cape Cod Commission. That's something very similar to our local regulatory agreement process, again, a negotiated process, as opposed to going through the development of regional impact process. That's a sort of a separate and very prescribed review process that the Cape Cod Commission has. So they filed a preliminary application, again, at this point related just to the development review process that proposed development will follow. So there is a hearing. The Cape Cod Commission, I just checked, posted their agenda this afternoon. There is a hearing at the Cape Cod Commission Thursday, the 25th at 3 o'clock virtually. And again, that's a full commission hearing. It will be a public hearing, but not on the merits of the project. the developer is actually yet to file a development review application with the Cape Cod Commission. It's on the process through which the development will be reviewed. Again, the developer asking for a development agreement process through the commission. And one of the reasons they're doing that is because this property is in the town's regulatory agreement district. So that's the geographic area in which a developer is eligible to request a negotiation of a regulatory agreement with the town. So from their perspective, and I think it's one that we support, again, in terms of process only, you know, if they intend to request through the town permitting of this development through a regulatory agreement, that is a parallel process to the Cape Cod Commission development agreement process. But right now, no sort of, you know, no fleshed out information on the development itself, with the exception of sort of preliminary application materials. The hearings that are happening at this point are about the development review process. So that's where it's at. That is the next step, again, in consideration. After that, you know, they will file an application. You know, I'm sure these issues that were raised tonight relative to traffic, there will be a traffic study on, environmental review, certainly both through the commission and of course through our conservation commission locally, will be looked at. They've obviously mapped wetlands on the property. Will be required to proceed as required through the Conservation Commission, should they fall within the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction regarding wetlands protection. So we anticipate all of those review processes forward.
Thank you. Mr. President, if I could just add a couple more comments before we go to Mr. Santos. I've been working with Kim McGuire and Brian Hughes and Deb Crow of the Hyannis Civic Association to make sure the concerns are heard. The folks at Lennar, I have to say, have been fantastic. They've reached out again to Deb Crow. I asked them to reach out again to answer more questions and talk to the neighborhood about their concerns and try to mitigate them in front of the process. And they are so engaging and very interested in conversations moving forward. I've actually never seen anything like it. They're very accommodating. And so if you're interested in more conversations about this, I would suggest to reach out to Deb Crow or maybe Brian or Kim. I guess Deb Crow through the Greater Hyannis Association would be the way to go. And she's kind of spearheading with Brian and Kim's help the neighborhood concerns to make sure that they are actually considered moving forward. And now I'll hand it over to Mr. Santos. Thank you.
Can I add one thing first before we leave Ms. Jenkins?
Yeah.
Jen?
Yeah.
Or I should go through.
Mr.
Levesque, please. No, I just want to point out one twist of language. I was at the county commission meeting 2 weeks ago. This piece of land, and Ms. Jenkins alluded to it, it's not an open, undeveloped piece of land.
That's right.
They're classifying it as a developed piece of land, so it's not open space at the moment.
It's not open space and it's not town owned, and those are two very important things.
So just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council Star. Director Santos.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President and councilors. Wanted to address some of the questions that were brought up regarding the town's water pollution control facility, which some of you refer to as the wastewater treatment plant, which has been in place since the 1930s and has been upgraded many, many times to the point where today it is a state-of-the-art facility which operates completely within the requirements of the Department of Environmental Protection. We have a groundwater discharge permit, which we meet fully. And with regards to nitrogen, in fact, we discharge half of the nitrogen that we're allowed to discharge from that plant. And what the numbers are is our permit is for 10 milligrams per liter of nitrogen discharge. We actually discharge from 4 to 6 milligrams per liter. But you may recall, councilors, that recently you approved a appropriation for us to do a study at the treatment plant of improving the nitrogen removal down to what is about the lowest level that any plant like this can reach within given technology today in the approximately the 2 milligram per liter area, which is what our goal is. And so we're going to be working towards that. Also want to let you know that because the treatment plant's there is tremendously less nitrogen entering the Stewart's Creek and the Lewis Bay system than would be if that plant wasn't there. Just orders of magnitude less. And we have understood that nitrogen over the last 20 years has been a significant issue in coastal water bodies and embayments. And one of the projects that we undertook to improve the situation was extending sewering to the Stewart's Creek area, which will reduce the nitrogen even further. Now, our current wastewater management plan takes this all into account and is a plan that will allow us to completely meet the federal clean water standard, which provides a TMDL, which is a total maximum daily limit for nitrogen in the water bodies. And our plan will meet that with our existing plant, with our upgrade, with our sewer expansions in Lewis Bay and in the Stewart's Creek area. So hope that addresses your question. Otherwise, I'll be happy to try to provide some more information.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that it's very clear that the wastewater treatment plant is not a quote faulty system.
No, it's a state-of-the-art system in complete compliance with all requirements.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the clarification on that, Councilor Cullum and Director Santos. Also, too, I would lead anyone to read the press release that went out in regards to the CLF lawsuit. I hope Mr. Julius and different, Mr. Hughes is still listening in regards to that, basically the other side of the story, so to speak, up to this point. So get a hold of that. Also, too, I would leave it open. Town Manager Els, if you want to respond to any of the comments that were out there, obviously, there's things that are also going to be touched upon during Town Manager communications. But just so in case some people aren't going to be sticking around that long, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to also pass it.
Well, I can read my Town Manager communication right now if you want. Relevant to certainly the CLF lawsuit, that's something that we did release to the press. And I know Director Santos had a long conversation today, regarding it with the media. So I can certainly do that right now if you believe it appropriate.
The thing is, it's important, and I think what we're all trying to do is to have that transparency, to communicate already, as counselors, we know that we've been talking about this. We know we've been talking about if something that is required to have a vote, such as a debt exclusion, this has been talked about in depth as of recent. Again, I hope those who have commented are still listening. Please, rewatch our specific meeting we had, I believe it was December 10th, in regards to what the process would be in regards to, financing this. And, and numbers weren't just made up. We had our finance director, Mark Milne, who, award-winning finance director, Mark Milne, put this together, this presentation. There's just been a lot of work, a lot of conversation in regards to this. Yes, the appropriation has been put forth. It's about $85,000 for preliminary talks in regards to CLF. These things are all happening, and those are required, that we have to do to move forward to obviously not only move forward with our comprehensive wastewater management plan, but to protect our town. So without further ado, Town Manager Els, if you could communicate that. At this point, again, I don't necessarily like taking things out of order, but I just think it's important to strike while the fire is hot. Thank you.
Sure. It's my items 2 and 3 in my Town Manager communication. And I'll utilize that to respond here. Certainly, the town of Barnstable was informed on February 16th that the Conservation Law Foundation filed a Clean Water Act complaint against the town. CLF has not yet served the complaint on the town, at least I am not aware of that as of this time. and the litigation process does not start until that happens. I issued the following statement in response to that lawsuit. The town of Barnstable is taking decisive and effective action to improve water quality in our coastal waters, streams, and ponds. The town's comprehensive wastewater management plan, recently approved by the Massachusetts Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs, will fully achieve the nitrogen reduction needed to meet the federal clean water standard. The town has already begun by investing $30 million toward the first phase of the sewer construction needed to address this problem. An additional construction is planned to begin later this year, including upgrades to the Hyannis water treatment plant, which Director Santos alluded to a moment ago. By the end of the decade, sewer expansion will be in place to remove nearly half of the nitrogen needed to protect our waters, with the remainder completed in subsequent phases. Contrary to the Conservation Law Foundation's allegations, the town adheres to all applicable environmental requirements. It operates the Hyannis wastewater treatment plant in full compliance with a groundwater discharge permit issued to the town by Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. And our feeling is if CLF is seeking to change the manner in which the plant is permitted, they need to take that issue up with the state and federal permitting agencies. Moreover, CLF's actions could hinder the town's current efforts to address the problem of nitrogen pollution in our waters by diverting financial and staff resources away from that work. Nitrogen pollution of the Cape's waters is a large-scale and costly problem. Barnstable is committed to ensuring that we do all that we can to protect and restore the health of our coastal waters, which are the lifeblood of our economy and quality of life. We encourage CLF and others concerned about this issue to support these efforts and work together with us. And we'll keep you advised through future executive sessions as we progress through this legal matter. Relative to the CWMP, the town of Barnstable has led the region to protect and preserve water resources. With the recent state approvals of our comprehensive wastewater management plan, a 30-year plan focused on protecting the health of coastal, inland, and drinking water quality, we embark on perhaps the most aggressive infrastructure and resource protection plan in the history of our community. We call upon our community to engage with us in the next phase of the plan, a review of fiscal policy to support the implementation of the approved CWMP. A special town council meeting was held on October 29th of last year to discuss proposed fiscal policy considerations in support of implementation of the CWMP. We've also provided subsequent reviews with the town council, our comprehensive financial advisory committee, civic group, and the general public. And we will continue to do so as we progress through this important discussion. The fiscal policy under consideration would establish how to equitably distribute the remaining costs of the CWMP. The town manager's proposal to town council included the following. First, to review and approve a sewer assessment ordinance, which includes a sewer assessment to each individual property receiving the planned sewer. And second, to discuss the use of general funds to pay for the remaining portion of costs associated with proceeding with the CWMP. The town manager, myself, will host a virtual public forum on February 25th, 2021 at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 7 p.m. to discuss a proposal for a sewer assessment ordinance to finance a portion of the cost to construct the sewer expansion in the town of Barnstable. Mark Milne and Dan Santos will accompany the town manager for this virtual forum. We have planned a second public forum on March 25th as we compile our public's comments and concerns regarding this proposal. We encourage all to engage in this important discussion. And if you're looking for information regarding this and many other things, actually, please go to the town's homepage and click on Barnstable Water Resources button on the left side of the screen to find relevant information and links. So relevant to how we will approach fiscal policy, we're looking at it in a two-step process, which I just described. One of the outcomes may be going to our public for a vote. But that's yet to be determined. So we ask all to engage, and I'll leave it at that at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Town Manager Ellis. And thank you, staff, for your follow-up in regards to that too. Stay tuned, maybe there's more needed, but at this point, I just wanted to say thank you. Any other councilor response? Council Clark, I see your hand, please.
Thank you. Vivek. I was wondering if we could get the town manager Mark an update on the status as was brought up by Ms. Jones.
Yes, again, Mark Ellis, Town Manager. Thank you for that question. Yes, we are pursuing certification as a green community. Our specific focus right now is on the stretch code. There's 5 criteria to achieve that. We have various levels of effort in each of those 5 areas, but right now there's a focus by our building commissioner relevant to a modified version to achieve that energy efficiency that would be achieved under the stretch code. We believe this to be a relevant conversation because this has been brought before town council in the past, and we have not proceeded with certification as a green community. And that process does fall with our town council in acceptance of an ordinance for the stretch code, which ultimately would make us eligible for eligibility as a green community. So yes, we are actively working on that. We're trying to come up with a way that our community can achieve that. And I am in constant discussion with our building commissioner on proceeding with the process that I've just described. There is a planned workshop, the second town council meeting in March, to further provide information to town council as we move forward with this effort.
Thank you, Town Manager Ellis, and thank you, Councilor Clark, for bringing that up. I appreciate that, so that can be clarified and where we are in regards to that. Vice President Schnapp, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to thank all those who came out for public comment tonight. It was, as always, educational. Want to specifically shout out to Ms. Wallace for coming to talk about ADUs as we are looking at sort of the opposite ends of the spectrum on how to deal with our housing crisis in Barnstable. We have the 312, very dense apartment complex being proposed, and ADUs being a much more, less dense approach. So again, I wanted to thank her for sharing her thoughts.
Thank you, Vice President Schnapp. Council Starr.
Well, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Levesque. I was also wanted to thank everybody for the public comment. It's always wonderful. Thanks, Ms. Jones, and also Ms. Wallace. I appreciate that the ADUs are coming back up. And could we just hear a quick a refresher for me about where we are in the process? Like, where can it be amended? Is it headed to the planning board next? That's my question. Thank you.
Great, and I'll direct that question to Director Jenkins.
Thank you, President Levesque, Elizabeth Jenkins. So what we've done, what we've spent the past week doing, my staff is essentially compiling a summary of all of the comments we've gotten, and there have been quite a few on accessory dwelling units, both at the meeting we had a couple of weeks ago and through the online forum. We completed that today, so we will get that out to counselors tomorrow. That'll give you an opportunity to sort of review the broad spectrum of community comments that we've gotten so far. The other bit of twist in this process is that, again, as I've spoken to before, the governor did sign an economic development bond bill that included housing choice provisions related to accessory dwelling units. So we've been working with the legal team and others, actually reached out to the Department of Housing Community Development. They indicated that they were very busy, but that they did agree to take a look at our ordinance and review it against the new provisions to see if there were any conflicts or any revisions that they proposed to make. We actually heard back from them on that today. So I think what we'd like to do from an administrative perspective is provide you those comments, provide you the opportunity to take a look at that ordinance, and then certainly turn it back over to the council in terms of how you see it proceeding.
Thank you, Director Jenkins.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Councilor Clark.
Thanks again, President Levesque. I just would like to give an opportunity for the staff to mention that people who are looking for the relevance of the sewer sewer assessment coming to their home, that they can look on the town's website and see targeted to be there. I noticed that it's already worked into the system, so thank you for that.
Town Manager Els, did you want to respond to that?
We're in the process of trying to provide as much information as we possibly can. And you can find it under that Barnstable Clean Water button on the homepage. And I knew that we were in the process of providing that. So that's good news that it's live right now. And I'll double check that and speak with staff to make sure of its accuracy. We do expect to even provide more information to our public relevant. As we make fiscal policy decisions, it will let us move forward with providing the public more finite type information relevant to the impact of moving forward with the project. We're very cautious of being speculative because until we establish such things as fiscal policy, it is very speculative and people make decisions based on the information we share with them, and we want it to be accurate when we share it with them. So.
Excellent. And I think we've gone a long way to clarify some of those misconceptions that were stated in public comments. So I really, again, I appreciate staff being ready, kind of Johnny on the spot, and being ready to answer those questions. That was really helpful. Even more so than what councils would be able to offer. So thank you. Any other councilor respond? Okay, not seeing any. So I would move forward to the rest of the town manager communication.
Thank you, Mark Ells, town manager. And thanks staff for their response during response. I thought they were actually very good questions and comments. We anticipate a storm event starting today and continuing into Saturday. It is going to continue about what you've seen. Many residents called after the last storm, though, regarding plowing sidewalks. I think people during this COVID event are looking to get outside and participate in any activity, especially walking. And they're asking whether we're plowing sidewalks. And the answer is yes. We are continuing to plow sidewalks. We've got to get our roads and our parking lots and other areas clean first, and then we move to sidewalk. Perhaps part of the difference this year, though, is there are far fewer contractors available for us to utilize to assist, especially in larger storm events. So our staff are doing certainly the sidewalk work and much of the plowing. And as you know, we have, hundreds of miles of roadway and sidewalk. And so please let us know when you don't see a sidewalk being cleared. We will put it into our system. We will be out there as we always have been addressing our sidewalks, but it always helps to hear from you in case something's behind or there's a concern on your part. So we appreciate you taking the time to call us. Holding with the COVID concerns, as a reminder, the town of Barnstable continues to follow orders and directives of our governor. The governor continues to frequently update these orders and directives, and I encourage everyone to go to the mass.gov COVID website, or you can go to your town of Barnstable website and link into that website, the mass.gov, and read these orders and directives for yourself. Our staff continues to meet daily to plan and implement proper actions which are in step with the governor's orders and the Mass Department of Public Health guidelines. And we continue to remind everybody that the state guidelines and to take basic precautions, which include wearing a mask, washing your hands, maintaining proper physical distancing, and staying home from work, school, sports, and other activities when you're ill. I know there's been a lot of discussion this week regarding vaccination, and as we have more information, we will certainly share it, but know that the town of Barnstable does not have control over that process, nor do they have control over vaccine and when vaccine is distributed. So I will ask our assistant town manager when we have additional information to provide future updates. So council and public can all hear how we are proceeding with the task in the budget action calendar for FY22 as scheduled. Right now, we're in a reviewing the capital improvement program mode. Once we complete that, Director Milne will begin to formulate those final capital improvement budget documents for submittal to town council, and then we'll move into finalization of operations budget. I've already described to the town council that different than last year, with the modified budget, once COVID began, we held with a level funded approach. This year, we're doing level service with our budget. So that's good news for programs and services. And so we look forward to bringing both budgets to town council in the coming month. Deb Blanchett, town treasurer, announced that the town of Barnstable received competitive bids from the bond underwriters on Tuesday, February 9th for a $2.7 million 15-year taxable bond issue, and it averaged an interest rate of 1.2%. The town received a total of 5 bids on the bonds. Bond proceeds will be used to finance private roadway improvements. Prior to the sale, Standard & Poor's Global Rating, a municipal bond credit agency, affirmed our AAA bond rating, the highest rating attainable. The rating agency cited the town's very strong economy, very strong management, with strong financial policies and practices, strong budgetary performance, very strong budgetary flexibility, very strong liquidity, strong debt and contingent liability profile, and strong institutional framework as positive credit factors. And thank you, leadership, for providing us those fiscal policies that we need to maintain that rating. We continue with the regular conversations with Vineyard Wind regarding the status of their phase 1 and phase 2 project. Vineyard Wind continues to work with Barnstable staff regarding both phases of that project. They anticipate commencing construction of phase 1 in this spring, so coming in the next couple of months, and are proceeding with the permitting in phase 2. We've also engaged in discussion with Vineyard Wind for a host agreement for a potential phase 3. I anticipate Vineyard Wind providing an update to the town council on the status of their projects, both current and future, at a meeting in March. And we'll keep you advised as this progresses. At this time, that concludes your town manager's update. And if you have any questions on what I've provided, be more than happy to answer it. And if not, I'll turn it over to Director Santos for item 8 and item 9. Item 8 is an update on the Route 28 Willow Street intersection improvement project. We've had a lot of questions about what's involved in that design and the schedule and what we can anticipate moving into the coming year. And then secondly, Director Santos's monthly update on our comprehensive wastewater management.
Thank you, Town Manager Els. First, any questions for Town Manager Els?
I just had a comment. I'm very impressed with the bond rating. I'm impressed with your work and Mr. Milne's work, and it shows, and the town benefits from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Starr.
And thank you. And I would also just point out that our treasurer, Deb Blanchett, does an incredible job for this community. And she certainly, is also a major part of achieving what Director Milne does with your fiscal policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Cullen, please.
Yes, I just wanted to thank staff as well for answering so thoroughly on the fly those questions. I didn't mean to put anybody on the spot, but I just think that it's important when we have people bring up questions like that we answer them honestly, that we're all on the same page, and that we all know exactly what's going on with regard to our wastewater plant and our sewering and on all of that. It's incredibly important that we all start from the same spot as we go.
Thank you, Councilor Cullen. All right, not seeing any other questions. I'd like to hand it over to Director Santos for the updates. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you again. I'm going to share my screen. Oh. Oh. Okay, I have a few slides here to update you on the Route 28 Yarmouth Road intersection project. This is being undertaken by Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Transportation. It's a approximately $14 million project that's being funded completely by the state. It's actually federal dollars that we get, or the state gets, through the Transportation Improvement Program, funneled to various regions, and this is one of the projects that are funding with funds coming to the Cape Cod region. And the location map you can see here, the red outlines the extent of the project, which is north along Yarmouth Road, up to about where the water supply division offices is. There's a little intersection there where we go off to the Mar well fields. And to the east, you can see down along Route 28, to the west, along Route 28 towards the Rotary, just past the Transportation Center stub there. And then just to the south, encompassing the intersection with Yarmouth Road and Camp Street. How about we pull that up too? There we go. Well, basically, the project objectives are very straightforward. They want to improve intersection safety on what is pretty much inarguably the busiest intersection on Cape Cod, and to reduce congestion for users at this intersection, which funnels traffic to and from Hyannis from all four directions. Scope of the project includes the following. Major reconstruction of the roadway itself, traffic signals. They'll be putting in additional lanes. I have a slide on that in a moment. There'll be bike lanes, as I mentioned, the new traffic signal system, rails, gates, and signals for the rail crossing there at the at-grade crossing. Shared use path on the west side of Yarmouth Road that crosses 28 and then connects to Engine House Road, which is the entrance to the Transportation Center. There'll be new sidewalk on all roads in the project area. There'll be drainage and utility improvements, new pavement markings and signage, and some limited landscaping and decorative lighting. You see here an aerial view, and just to give you a sense of the expansion of the lanes on the north side, where there is currently one northbound lane and two southbound lanes, there will be ultimately two northbound lanes and three southbound lanes. And the way they are going to accommodate that is by taking down the KAM, the CAM Appliance Mart building that's being taken by eminent domain and being relocated. The state is working on that issue with that property owner. On the south side, where we have two-ish northbound lanes, that's that awkward turn moving to the north, and one southbound lane. There's going to be three northbound and one southbound there. On the east side, be one eastbound lane and two westbound lanes. Currently, and that will be upgraded to two eastbound lanes and two westbound lanes. And on the west side, there's currently three eastbound and two-ish westbound. That will ultimately be four eastbound and two westbound. So very significant change in this area. The schedule, the design and permitting is complete. In fact, they went out to bid last year for this project, and due to the cost, they had to rebid it. So that has been rebid this spring, or will be rebid this spring with bids due, and hopefully the notice to proceed will be in the summer, with construction beginning in late summer, fall of this year, 2021. This project is about 1,500 days of construction. So you can see they're projecting construction through 2025. So obviously a major project in Hyannis that we are working very closely with them on this, and particularly the traffic rerouting. Construction hours will be normal construction hours with a few exceptions. Because the project is so lengthy, they will be working in the summer, but summer work will be at night, not during the day in the summer. Ambulance access will be retained at all times throughout the project. There will always be lanes available, and the DOT has coordinated with all the Cape ambulance services, fire departments, EMS services, and police department, and they will continue to do so. Obviously, we can't afford to have any delays to emergency service, and that's been the primary objective in our traffic management on this project. Another aspect of the project, which is actually going to be undertaken in March, is there's some pre-utility work that's being done that's going to be doing some water line work and some sewer sleeving for the town of Barnstable, moving sewer sleeves from north to south through the intersection so that we can provide sewer service to properties on the north side of the intersection along Yarmouth Road and in that industrial area there. And also they're going to be undertaking a lot of the railroad work in March. So this week signs should go up, which is stating that this work is going to go on. And then starting on March 1st, there'll be lane closures for local access only at the intersection. Robert B. Auer Company will be doing this work, and this work will go until March 22nd, with traffic being opened back up on March 23rd. And they'll have some off-road work that will continue through April 15th. Town engineer Griffin Bowden is here with me tonight. If there are any questions that he or I might be able to answer for you. But as I mentioned, start with, this is a state project that we've coordinated with them, and we will continue to do so. And it's going to be getting underway in earnest, likely in the fall. So if you have any questions on this, be happy to take those at this time.
Any questions? Councilor Neary.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a question. Maybe Bowden Griffin might be best suited. These projects always kind of confound me a little bit. I understand the lane increases in numbers of lanes that are available to put cars in, which I guess will shorten the stack. But ultimately, how far does this project go? Does it go all the way down to the airport rotary, or all the way down to Main Street? I don't believe it does. So
no.
Thoughts are always how is that traffic? How does it mitigate the traffic? Because we're just basically pushing a bottleneck further down the road. And I know this is not our town project. It's just
Well, it allows some additional queuing in on all four sides, but primarily it provides turning lanes, which allows traffic to continue to flow through full lane width to both sides and not back up because of cars that are trying to turn, make left turns at the intersections. There are future projects, both on Route 28 to the Rotary and north of this project on Yarmouth Road that are in preliminary planning, but ultimately with the Cape Cod Commission's assistance, that is definitely in the regional plan to improve both those sections that will tie in.
Thank you, Director Santos. And I know that the coordination with the town is a big factor, especially for the residents in that part of town, and access and egress coming to and from the hospital. It's going to be paramount that those areas are, open and traffic moving as freely as it possibly can to those destination spots. Thank you very much.
Sure. Yeah, we've undertaken quite a bit of road construction the last couple of years, as you know, both the state with the intersection at Bursis Way and Route 28, and that went on for, well, about 3 years. And overall, I think from my perspective, that went pretty well. We got very few complaints. And then town project on C Street in Hyannis and Marston's Mills on 149, and then Barnstable's Main Street. So we've got a lot of practice working with business owners and the police and fire departments to try to maintain access, always at least a lane, and to work closely with our residents and visitors so it's as painless as possible.
Thank you, Councilor Neary. Thank you, Director Santos. Councilor Clark, did you have your hand up earlier?
Thank you very much, President. If I may, so that Director Santos alluded to a project to the north, I was going to ask, is there any accommodation being made to how do I link up with the Cape Cod Rail Trail? That is,
yes, that's the intent.
Great question. Great question for the public. Any other questions for Director Santos? Okay, let's move on to the next point, please.
Okay, as you may remember last month, I did a more extensive update and went in a lot more detail. I think this month it won't be nearly as long. I'm just going to up you on a few things. But of course, if you have questions, we can address those as well. With our comprehensive wastewater management plan, as the manager mentioned, we have both the plan and the environmental impact report that was approved by the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act Office, Secretary's Office, in December. Our final regulatory hurdle is with the Cape Cod Commission, and that's the Section 208 of the Clean Water Act Consistency Review. We met with the Cape Cod Commission last week to go over what that review would look like prior to just submitting it, and it has now been submitted and is in their hands. They promised a rapid turnaround for the review. But as you know, it certainly hasn't held up any progress on the town's part in moving ahead with many projects. Something new this month, you haven't heard an update on JBCC other than no news for the last year. In fact, last week, Assistant Town Manager Clyburn and I attended negotiation sessions out at Joint Base Cape Cod, where the National Guard Bureau from Washington and the local Air Force, Air National Guard, have been given direction to negotiate with the partnership, which is Converge in the town of Barnstable. And this is good news. We have no commitments as part of this other than it's good for the town in that it provides us an alternative for treatment and disposal if down the road that makes sense, or we have problems identifying locations or issues with the western part of town. So it simply provides us opportunity with very little that we have to put up front into that. As far as Mother's Park, for the pump station in the Mother's Park area, not actually in the park that we're proposing it in the Mother's Park Road, just to the east of the park. We continue to work with the county, our legal office in the county on the road ownership issues before we can commit to moving that project forward. And then I just updated you on the Route 28 Yarmouth Road project, but relative to wastewater, starting in March, they will be running those sleeves and pipe, basically dry pipe, that will allow us to connect our wastewater system to the north side of the intersection when we get to the point of extending sewers to that area. Other projects we have underway and funded various aspects. Strawberry Hill Road project, that is the project that's being done in conjunction with the Vineyard Wind project. And we're finalizing our design of sewers as well as the pump station, which I briefed you on last month. That's going to be on land that the town is getting an easement from private owner at the intersection of Craigville Beach Road and Strawberry Hill Road. And we continue coordinating with Vineyard Wind weekly. Griffin, town engineer, does that. A very close relationship with them. And we anticipate that work to start in the fall. We continue to work on the state revolving fund, which is our loan program that finances these projects, and making sure that we have all the paperwork in order so that we can get that attractive financing through the state. The Route 28 East project, which is pump station and sewering at the intersection of Finney's Lane and Route 28. We continue with our preliminary design, and we're coordinating with the Hyannis Water System to remove dead ends, which will improve water quality for water supply services in that area. And that's really going to be our first significant construction project that the town is undertaking and contracting for, and that's projected for a year from now, construction start date. And that will start to get our backbone in place. And then Long Pond and Finney's Lane project, as well as Route 28 West. We have funds for surveying and preliminary design. The survey work is going very well. We're reviewing a draft on the Long Pond survey, and the Finney's and Route 28 should be in this month. And then as soon as we have that survey information, that allows us to kick off our preliminary design. Other projects we have underway, Rendezvous Lane and Barnstable Village pump station. We are moving the existing pump station out of the floodplain, where in fact it gets frequently flooded with nor'easter storms. And that work is going to start construction in the middle of March. We're moving that pump station to higher and drier land, work with town councilor Starr there in the community. And they seem pleased with the location and the design that we've selected with them. Our solids handling, this is our septage receiving facility at the wastewater treatment plant. We're finalizing those drawings, and State Revolving Fund has given us permission to advertise, which we will do in March. And that will be a significant upgrade to our water pollution control facility. Pump station improvement program. We're finalizing the final design there. We're going to be advertising in March. This is primarily this year providing some improvements to a couple of pump stations, including the provision of emergency generators. Currently, we have to haul the generators to them, and that just takes some time, and this will allow us to have immediate switch over to generators. We installed a new effluent flow meter at the plant, which is something that the DEP required as part of our groundwater discharge permit last update. And then finally, as part of the Versus Way shared use path, we're going to be decommissioning the vacuum sewer there, and we're submitting the 75% design to the Mass Department of Transportation for that next week. So with that, that's my update for the month, and I'd be happy to try to address any questions you may have in conjunction with Griffin, who's joined me. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Santos. Okay. And any questions for Director Santos or Town Engineer? Okay, not seeing any. I believe that would close out Town Manager Communications for today. Thank you, everybody, for your participation, and thank you, Mark, for putting that all together. Thank you, Director Santos, for those two updates, especially the Route 28. Lots of different discussions, questions, and even rumors out there, and misconceptions of what that's going to look like. So I appreciate that. My only comment would be possible to get those slideshows that just put out, get those emailed to each of the councils. That would be much appreciated.
Yeah, I'll send them along to Cindy tomorrow.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, moving forward, I'd like to, number 7, act on the minute. Vice President Schnepp.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move approval of the minutes of February 4th, 2021 Town Council meeting.
Second. First and second. Any discussion? Okay. Not seeing any. Can we do a roll call vote, please? Adam.
Councilors Atlas,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rafferty,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Tar,
Yes.
Steinhilber.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
Excellent. Moving on to communications from elected officials, boards, committees, and staff, commission reports, correspondence, and announcements. Council Bogan, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Keeping with what is uppermost in everybody's mind these days, and that is the COVID vaccinations, let me say first the good. My mother-in-law was fortunate enough to get one of the early appointments last week at the Melody tent, and traffic issues aside, the process could not have gone any more seamless. So I commend those who are involved in that effort. I know that there are still many people who are very frustrated at their ability to get a vaccine and the location of those sites. Folks should know that virtually every member of this council signed on to a letter, along with Senator Sear and Representatives Peake, Diggs, Daros, and Whalen, in a letter to the governor asking for a mass vaccination site to be located at Cape Cod Community College, and also to increase the availability, the number of vaccines that are available to folks on the Cape. So we are doing what we can. But if you watch the news, it is not a frustration that is unique to us. There are folks all across the Commonwealth who are having a problem with the site, scheduling a location. And I know that there are folks that say, well, I have a friend who in Connecticut who got an appointment right away and it was seamless. Well, my mother lives in Connecticut and has been trying for 4 days. And she finally got through and they said, yes, you can get one, but it was an hour and 15 minutes away. So I know folks are anxious, but I ask you to be a little bit patient. Thank you, Mr. President.
That was excellent. Thank you, Council Bogan, for that very well-detailed update. again, we are all in this together. And yes, it really is not so much to have a location. Unfortunately, it's also the supply. So, any other communication? I would like to just communicate. I've done it before in regards to the Farmers to Families Food Box Program. To again reiterate that is happening this Saturday from 10 to 1, Transportation Center in Hyannis. And you can go to Mass Military Support Foundation website, MMSFI.org, and register for a food box. If you have a struggle with that, I'm not sure exactly how to get that done, you feel free to contact me at my town manager communications, my phone number, and my email address that's on the town website. Appreciate everybody's efforts that has volunteered for that. It's been going on since the first weekend in October. So, and we continue to try to help those in need. So, thank you very much. Any other council communication? I see that other members have started to join us for our presentations coming up and those the orders of the day. And I thank you for being here. But at this time, we're about an hour and a half into our meeting. So I did want to just take the time to take a quick break. Let's do 5 minutes, please. And let's really try to be back in 5 minutes. Take a little break, and then we'll come back with Director Senatori and in regards to a Cape Cod Commission update. Thank you very much.
Hi, Fred.
Yeah, I was muted, which is sometimes the best thing for me.
Oh my God, I tried it forever when you were on the council. You mute already.
Duct
Now I have
tape.
to do it to Charlie.
Duct tape works fine. Yes.
Awesome. I'll be back in a minute.
I like the idea that you're on the beach, though. That looks very nice.
I am on the beach in my mind.
All right. See you in a bit.
Okay.
restrictions on it in that you need to know future flows. Like you can't just expand it. Whatever you put in the ground, that's it. That's your limitation. And P-Town, Provincetown has some vacuum sewers, and they've had some similar concerns in that they've wanted to expand, but there are limitations. So yeah, it was okay, but I would stay. Obviously, you want gravity, and if you can't have gravity, then you go to a pressure sort of. Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, Sarah, are we ready to go back on?
Yep, you're all set. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So without further ado, we've always had some discussion in regards to public comment. I did want to thank Director of the Cape Cod Commission, Christy Senatori, for reaching out and your willingness to give us an update and jumped on the opportunity to have you come here for the next meeting. So thank you for that. Also, too, we also have former town council president and a longtime counselor here for the town of Barnstable, served our council for, I believe, 12 years. And
12 years.
12 years. And and also our representative to the Cape Cod Commission, the town of Barnstable, again, Fred Chirigotis. So thank you for being with us as well. But without further ado, Director Senatori, if you wanted to start with your update, please.
Great, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this evening with you all. I typically try to visit the boards of selectmen and the town council periodically just to provide some updates on some of the work that we're doing. And I started reaching out last year and postponed that in order to try to meet in person. And here we are nearly a year later and in this virtual setting. But nonetheless, I am grateful to be here this evening with you all. I wanted to just review with you some of the highlights of the work that we were able to do in 2020, and then talk about some of our priorities for going forward in 2021. But before I do that, I did just want to recognize and thank Fred Chirigotis for his service on the commission. He's one of our newer members, but I think certainly very engaged and very instrumental in a lot of the decision-making process that happens at the commission. So I wanted to thank him publicly for his service, and I know you're all very familiar with Fred and his work. So if he wants to make a few remarks, I'm happy to share the floor as well at whatever time that you'd like to do that. But I did submit to you, and hopefully you did receive our year in review for 2020. It's not necessarily a comprehensive look at all the work that we did, but it does provide a fairly good overview of some of our work in 2020. And so that's a publication. If you don't have it, I'd be happy to share the link with you all either during or after this meeting. But I did just want to provide some highlights from 2020. And you've talked a lot about water quality and wastewater this evening. And so as many of you are very familiar, we have the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund and that management board. The Cape Cod Commission is responsible for providing administrative and technical support to. And so that fund to date has from July of 2019 to August of 2020 has about $11 million in it. And we did just receive word that the next disbursement from the Department of Revenue will likely be in a mid-March timeframe, but preliminary information does indicate that there should be about $8 million in additional revenue from about September 2020 to January 2021. So we're pleased to see that fund, and we look forward to distributing those funds to see those resources increase in the community. The management board did adopt regulations that will govern the distribution of these funds, as well as identifying the need to include some of the 2018 through 2020 intended use plan projects for consideration for subsidy. I did just want to note and certainly thank Town Manager Mark Ells for chairing the Bylaws and Regulations Committee. That was quite an undertaking and a task to put together those regulations. And so I appreciate his leadership to help us get through that. We do anticipate the first subsidies will be voted within the coming months following the finalization of the Clean Water SRF intended use plan, the finalization of that plan. So, and as Director Santos noted, the commission staff will be reviewing the full Barnstable CWMP for 208 consistency review. I anticipate that will be an expedited review. but we did just receive that today, so we're pleased to be able to take a look at that. So shifting gears a little bit in terms of where we are as a community, certainly a lot of our focus over the course of the past year has been around COVID response, economic recovery, and really looking at how to help our communities become more resilient. And so a few of the initiatives that we have been working on over the past several months is a COVID community alert heat map system. So this is something that we developed in partnership with Cape Cod Healthcare as well as the Barnstable County Health Department. And what this does is shows numbers of confirmed cases at the zip code level within the county. This is updated every other day. It's intended to inform and empower residents really to make informed choices about minimizing the risk of infection and further transmission. Certainly, we're into the vaccination discussions now, and so I continue to participate as a member of the Cape Cod Reopening Task Force, which has now renamed itself the COVID-19 Recovery or Response Task Force. Another resource that we did develop as part of our COVID response efforts was the data dashboard. So if you haven't visited it, you're welcome to visit datacapecod.com. And so what this does is provide several different data sets for the communities to be able to access in terms of putting together grant applications, or if they're needing additional information in terms of community information. And so one of the dashboards, for example, talked about real estate. And so if we looked more specifically at the real estate market in the region, we know that we saw a significant spike in some of our real estate sales. And so, for example, in Barnstable, the median sale price peaked at about $547,000 in August of 2020, which represents a 24% increase over that same time period, August of 2019. So certainly it's just a snapshot in time, but it does provide you with that more detailed information. It also has information regarding some of the transportation impacts. So for example, bridge crossings. And so you'll be able to take a look in some detail with regard to the number of bridge crossings, and certainly looking at those key weekends in the over Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, and so forth. You can see the traffic patterns and the traffic trends there. As it relates to COVID resources as well, we issued jointly with the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce 3 different business surveys throughout the course of the year. We issued one around the Memorial Day weekend, one around Labor Day weekend just after the summer, and then we just closed our 3rd business impact survey, kind of culminating or right around, we just closed it actually, so it's really kind of getting the highlights of the winter kind of off season. So all the results of those 3 surveys are also imported into Data Cape Cod, really kind of needed to help inform some of our local resiliency business planning. And so each survey had between around 400 to 450 local businesses responding. So really our ability to kind of capture some of the impacts from the COVID-19 pandemic to our local businesses. And the last two pieces I wanted to mention in terms of COVID were, we put together a municipal planning resources toolkit, really just to provide information to Cape Cod towns as to how they can support some of the needs of the local businesses as they operate during this time of social distancing requirements and others. And we were pleased to see that you were awarded that Main Street Shared Street grant through the Mass DOT to support your COVID-related changes to Main Street. And then lastly, in terms of COVID, we have just applied for an MOBD regional pilot grant project, so that, and we're pleased to have Barnstable support that project and be a partner on it. But really, we recognize that there has been an impact on our retail environment here in the region. I don't think this is exclusive to Cape Cod, but certainly we'd like to study the evolving nature of retail prior to the pandemic, but certainly as a result of COVID. And so being able to plan and predict a little bit more of the longer term trends that will be impacting retail is important. So we're hopeful that we'll be successful with that grant application and can move forward in some more comprehensive planning around that retail market. And so also in 2020, we spent a significant amount of time developing the first ever climate action plan for Cape Cod. And so this was really an opportunity for us to work with our communities to look at ways that we can reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. So the very first task that we undertook was the development of greenhouse gas emissions inventory for the region. So we now have a comprehensive data set of information that we can use to set the baseline so that as we take measures and strategies to reduce our emissions, we will have a baseline in which we can measure our progress as a region as we move forward. So that process has been extensive and working with a lot of stakeholders. The community engagement process, we've had over 200 stakeholders following this lengthy process. We've had over 100 meeting hours, and we have a Cape Cod Commission subcommittee that's been following the process as well. They met 11 times over a very short time period to put together this climate action plan and also to suggest amendments to our regional policy plan that have now been approved through the Cape Cod Commission as well as through the Assembly of Delegates. We also, as part of this program, have engaged with the younger population, and so we have high school students through our Climate Ambassadors program. And so this is a program that we're running for high school students across the region, and we had a lot more applicants than we actually anticipated. So we're pleased to see the interest in this, and we hope to have this program run even after the climate action plan is completed and perhaps run a second session of it. So as part of the climate action planning process, it's obviously a multifaceted process. And so in addition to the greenhouse gas emissions inventory, in addition to engaging stakeholders, there are a lot of other factors that go into developing a plan like this. So we've completed a legal and jurisdictional analysis. We also have an economic and fiscal impact analysis. So not only will we be able to determine some of the economic and fiscal impacts of some of the climate action planning scenarios and mitigation strategies, but we'll also have a better understanding of the impact to our region if we were to take no further action to address climate change. So that's important. The mitigation and adaptation strategies database will really give us a comprehensive look at how we can address climate change as a region and who can address and what level of government down to the private citizens as well as nonprofit organizations. So the climate action plan will be finalized within the coming months. We'll have a public comment period, and all of this planning will hopefully help inform the local communities too. So the climate action plan itself will have a local planning action section so that we can assist communities as they want to move forward with local climate planning. And so we know that you are also working towards the Green Communities designation, and I know that that's something that you're committed to. And so we also would be happy to support that process in any way that that would be possible. I know that you're working with a variety of other outside actors as well, including the Cape Light Compact. And so I just wanted to offer up the Commission's assistance if that would be helpful. So that's kind of, some of the highlights of the work that we've been doing in 2020 and going forward in 2021. We're probably equally as busy currently in really trying to make sure that that climate action plan is completed and put out for public comment so that we can actually focus on implementation. This isn't just the Cape Cod Commission's plan, this is really Cape Cod's plan to address climate change. But a few of the other priority projects that we've got going on for 2021 is really looking at a homeowner survey. So we, from time to time, issue a second homeowner survey to get a better understanding of how our second homeowners are using their residence and how they intend to use their residences moving forward. So we'll be doing a second homeowner survey, but we'll also be looking to reach out to homeowners that have purchased homes in 2020. We're hearing and obviously seeing some of the anecdotal evidence that more people are either choosing to remain in their second homes for longer periods of the year, move to the region full time due to the pandemic. So really getting us a better understanding of the data so that we can accurately understand some of those population shifts over time will help us plan better going forward. So we'll be able to identify for our communities where there may be a need for additional and adequate services. Really, that will also help us target additional regional initiatives, planning initiatives in the future. And so that, of course, will align with our regional housing strategy that we'd like to develop in the course of the next 12 months and at least initiate the process around developing a community housing plan. And so really this is for the purpose of addressing housing supply, affordability, and availability in the region. And this was a recommendation in our 2018 regional policy plan. And so this will require extensive community outreach and engagement. And so we look forward to working with the 15 communities in the region to develop this housing strategy for the Cape. And so while we're looking at a climate plan and a housing strategy, it's really imperative too that we look to develop a capital infrastructure plan for the region. So again, one of the recommendations in our most recent regional policy plan was to prepare a regional capital infrastructure plan. And so this would obviously support not only the people of the region, but the economy. And so that's something that will need to be integrated and really developed cooperatively with the regional housing strategy. And so the last piece of information I wanted to share in terms of priorities is really kind of coming back to water quality. We've spent a lot of time studying and developing resources and planning for marine water quality, and certainly we need to take a look at comprehensive planning around our freshwater ponds. And so what that looks like in terms of whether that's a 208 plan or some other initiative around ponds is something that we'll be developing in the course of the next several months as well. But we'll be compiling available freshwater data and resources into a regional database and updating our Cape Cod Ponds and Lakes Atlas so that we can reflect current data for water quality and then develop a plan for improving water quality. So I'll stop there. I know you have other things on your agenda this evening, but I did just want to again recognize and thank Fred Chirigotis. I wanted to, give him an opportunity to speak if you'd like to, but I'd like to just thank the town council for the opportunity to speak tonight. I look forward to working with you this year, and we do hope to host our annual One Cape conference this year. We did take a hiatus in 2020, but we will plan to host a conference in 2021 in the fall and in some form or another, hopefully in person, but we'll see how that goes. So I just want to give the floor to Fred if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Without further ado.
I don't really, I mean, I want to thank everyone for the opportunity. I want to thank the council and Christy especially. It's exciting to see how effective it can be when the town council works together with the county. The county has great resources, and we have a lot of issues that we need to work together on, as you all said, housing, the economy, the environment, you can go on. And the opportunity to see how it coordinates between the council and the county is exciting, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Fred. Thanks for being here. I did want to just open the floor. First of all, thank you, Chris, for that presentation. All of that resources, things are involved, things are going on, and the resources that are available to us through that. So I really appreciate that. But I did want to just open it up for any questions. Just make sure, Councilor Clark.
Thank you again, President. When you spoke of developing the database and the health of freshwater ponds and lakes, so I assume that would include some regarding the cyanobacteria. I know that
Sure, that's a great question. And I think that when we put together this database and update the existing ponds atlas, we need to put together a comprehensive list of all of the different potential impacts to our freshwater ponds. So I think that would be something that should be considered. I also think we should be working with our partners, including APCC, as well as others that are doing pond monitoring as well. And so this will also take into consideration the water quality data that's collected through the ponds and lakes stewardship programs, the PALS program. So yes, that's the short answer to your
Thank
question.
you. Any other questions? Councilor Rappacetti, please.
Thank you so much, and good to see you, Christy, and Fred. Good to see you too. The Cape Cod Commission, I have to commend them for the thorough reports and studies that you undertake. And one thing that concerns me, especially with regard to Route 28, is two studies that were performed in 2016 and final reports released in 2017 on the corridor study of Eastern Barnstable, where it meets Mashpee, as well as Route 28 near the Santuit Newtown intersection with and Route 130, which has had many instances of accidents and unfortunately fatalities. So I know I've expressed my concern that we undertake these studies and we engage the public, and you put out an incredible piece of work, and it sits. So how do we, other than getting the town manager and my fellow councilors to advocate, how do we engage the Cape Cod Commission to advocate on behalf of the town to move that from a study to entering it into the tip?
That's another great question, and I appreciate the thoughtfulness too. And you know, certainly our transportation staff work closely with the staff in the town of Barnstable, and we're staff to the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization. And so I do think there's additional opportunity for collaboration and additional opportunity for potential advocacy for some of these reports to be potentially highlighted or brought higher up on the priority list. So I will certainly take this back and speak with our transportation program manager and see if there's ways that we can connect with town manager and your staff and make sure that some of these are priority initiatives for the town.
I appreciate that. I have engaged Representative Diggs to assist in efforts to somehow coordinate with District 5 to see what we can do in this area of the town. Thank you so much, Christy. Good to see you both.
Thank you, Councilor Raffacetti. I'm sorry, I saw somebody else's hand. Vice President Schmidt, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Christy, for a very comprehensive presentation today. You did mention that one of your priorities next year is going to be a regional housing strategy. And I just wanted to tease out what component of that would be addressing our severe affordability issues. As you mentioned in the data dashboard, our real estate market, the housing prices have just been going up. Your comment about second home ownership, I'm just wondering if it's really squeezing out our year-round housing opportunities and how the strategy that you're proposing is going to start addressing that.
Certainly, and I think you're highlighting a lot of the issues that we're all trying to tackle at the moment. And there's still a lot of unknowns in terms of what those population shifts look like. And I think the regional housing strategy that we may have been talking about a year or 2 years ago is probably looking a little bit different than the one we're looking at now. And so what we'd like to do is identify regional, sub-regional, and town-specific housing supply goals and areas that are appropriate for housing development, in particular some of the multi-unit developments. And so we started this process through our last regional policy plan with the identification of community activity centers, areas that are really have the ability to accommodate additional growth and have the infrastructure in place to accommodate that. And so some of the goals of the regional housing strategy would be to include how to foster infrastructure investment so that we could increase housing supply. But we also need to make sure at the same time we are examining the relationship between affordable housing needs that are generated by the creation of the different types of jobs, whether they're low-wage jobs, and so how that also has an impact on our economy. And so it will certainly be a multifaceted housing strategy, and we look forward to engaging all 15 communities. And I think the data that we're collecting through the homeowner survey as well as the second homeowner survey will also help to inform that regional housing strategy. So I do think there'll be a large community engagement component to this because I think that we have 15 very different communities as well. So we need to make sure that as we're putting together this this regional approach, it's something that takes into account the needs of the different communities as well.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do want to stress the affordability component. I know that when the Cape Cod Commission was formed, it specifically had as one of its priorities or positions an affordable housing specialist. So I just hope it doesn't get lost in, the larger planning efforts around housing. So thank you.
Agreed.
Councilor Steinhilber, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Christy and Fred, I really appreciate you both being here tonight. Always good to see you both. And I wanted to pick up on something that Fred had said about the town and commission working together. Obviously, the more we can do that, certainly the better end work we're all able to do. I think we had a good example of that a couple of years ago. We worked together on that Chapter H application, which went great, and was definitely a net positive for the town. And we have some other opportunities coming up. We have the new commercial proposal on Attic Way. We've had some recent improvements along that road, so I certainly look forward to working with you to bring that to fruition. And a little bit more broadly, that entire Route 132 corridor. There's certainly things we can work on together to streamline and update the regulatory and review process for that commercial corridor, which is not just our commercial corridor, but certainly the commercial corridor Cape Cod in many respects. So I look forward to working with you on those issues as we go forward, and thank you again for being here tonight.
Thank you. Any other final questions? Okay. Thank you again, Christy and Fred, for being with us tonight. Again, comprehensive, very well done presentation, and look forward to working with you both in the near future. Appreciate your time. Thanks for sticking around. I know there's no rhyme or reason to when you actually enter our Zoom land, so I appreciate you sticking around and being a part of our meeting tonight. So thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a great rest of the evening. Okay. So without further ado, I would move into the orders of the day. And our first item of old business, second reading, may be acted upon. It's item number 2021-070. And if I could have Councilor Jessica Rapcorsetti read that, please.
Certainly, Mr. President. This is 2021-070, appointments to a board, committee, or commission. Resolved that the town council appoints the following individuals to a multiple member board, committee, or commission. For the Barnstable Historical Commission, Jack Kay, from an alternate member to a regular member to a term expiring 6/30/2021. Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee, Adam Carter as a regular member to a term expiring 6/30/2021. Charles McKenzie as a regular member to a term expiring 6/30/2022. The Human Services Committee, Carlos Barboza as a regular member to a term expiring 6/30/2023. Licensing Authority, John G. Flores as a regular member to a term expiring 6/30/2022. And lastly, Zoning Board of Appeals, Aaron Webb as an associate member to a term expiring 6/30/2022, as read.
Second.
First and a second. Any council discussion? Council Clark.
Much respect. I know that the appointment is being on and has our council assistant Cindy Lovell update website. But I did notice that for licensing board, there are some associate members. It's not clear to me on who is associated to what or who is a regular member. But and this is no reflection on Ron Flores. But I see that he's a regular member, and I was the associate member. I wanted to move to a regular position.
Chair Jessica Rapcorsetti, did you want to respond to that?
Yes, I actually made that inquiry at the meeting, and traditionally when someone is vacating a spot, the chair makes a query to the associate or alternate members as to anybody that wants to move up. And I know that the last time someone was appointed, both alternates or the alternates had no wish to go into the position. And I think that's why Mr. Flor is being put forward, because there was no interest. And that's okay. As long as they're there and can be called upon to fill in should an absence take place. Thank you for the question.
And thank you for your response, Councilor Raffacetti. I appreciate it. Any other discussion? I would move to vote. Madam Clerk?
Councilors Hogan,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Cullum.
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Raffacetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzler.
Yes.
That passes 12 yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to our next item, Councilor Paul Hebert, could you please read into the record and open the public hearing for item number 2021-071?
Thank you, Mr. President. Item 2021-071, supplemental appropriation order in the amount of $29,800 for the fiscal year 2021 airport operating budget for the purpose of funding airport website redevelopment services. This is a second reading, open to a public hearing, and a roll call majority of the full council.
Second.
First and a second, and I believe we have Katie Service with us, Airport Director, for the rationale.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm just here my quick. Okay, this is for 1071 be used from the airport serve for revamp. A little bit of background for you. As you know, our 2018 airport goals, maximizing activity, diversifying our airport revenue, becoming a regional transport. As you know, we met a month or so ago. The enhanced airport branding. So this request for a transport airport reserve, revamp that to meet goals of image enhancement. So just a little bit of background, the website redevelopment will be the Quotient Group. Quotient Group is the airport here. There are team. We are going into the second year of our all of that. They are already focused on airport and the airport plan goals for the airport. They are experts in airport marketing. They do this for a number of courses. They will assist the airport in maintaining the continuity in all forms of airport. The airport website has proposal itself is $29,100. The funds were not earmarked yet, but we are moving along nicely with our goal. The fees that they are charging are with other that the website passed itself with the original RFP for our market. So really, how they market the airport, they have this website thing. The funding for this is actually reimbursed through the Federal CARES Act grant. The airport was revamping of the website will focus on experience for web cleaner lines with visually pleasing and site. reinforcement of our business plan goals, the ability to shift and focus on the focus based on our priority market. So in other words, if there were new flight events at the airport, highlight those items on the website, change our market. Search engine optimization improvements with improved analytical data that we identify with how many people are visiting our site, who are visiting our site, where we need to have a stronger message, what our market is, our message. And it will be a central repository. So this is just a snapshot of what our existing website is like. The IT department for Barnstable has done a great job for us in this area. However, we're finding that we're not getting a lot of people to view this website, have different focus and methods that we'd like to try. This next slide is showing you a sample of what has done a couple of airports. This one in particular is South Bend in Mass. It's really streamlined. The main focus of South Bend is, what is the cost of flying out of South Bend versus Chicago or Midway? What is that parking mileage travel? What is that cost? For good market facilities. We could do this simply for our airport as well. Obviously, this message would change years what service airport. So right now, if you imagine the service cost calculator might show something like the cost of a ticket using all of our different airlines going to Pawtucket or the Vineyard, and then that same cost going over ferry. So something like that. This is another example of one of the websites that they modified. They use what they call a quick link that you see here with parking arrivals, draws your attention without a lot of words, a picture, more visual identification with that viewer of our website. And then here's one more very simplistic example of a website that they revamped again with just these visual, what they call as information cards, and it just draws your attention. It click. It provides you right to the information that you're looking for, whether it's pilot, airline, and so what will not? So the town of Barnstable's IT department airport staff will still have access to the site at any time now and in the future. We can make our own changes. We can have our marketing team make changes. We own the domain, so everything would stay in-house for the airport. We just have a team that's going to revitalize it for us, and also as part of the package, they will be implemented monthly. So basically, they will update it for us. Access to the site will still occur through the Town of Barnstable's main website. So now you can go to the Town of Barnstable site. You can click on Cape Cod Gateway Airport, and it brings you to the airport webpage. Same thing will happen. Modify. And that is all I have for my.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the presentation, Katie, and the rationale. This is a public hearing. Sarah, do we have anybody in the waiting looking to speak during public comment?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any other, so I would at this point close the public hearing. And at this time, is there any questions from the council? Vice President Schnett, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Katie, for the very easy to understand presentation. You mentioned that the town staff, IT staff will be maintaining the website. How long will this contract be in place? Is it like a year-long shift of the website? Is that what you were indicating?
So right now, the Quotient Group, who's our marketing team, they're going to revamp it and they will maintain it for us through the rest of their contract. They basically have about 2 years left on their contract. Okay. They are going to teach us, the airport staff, how to maintain it so that if we do not if we go with a different marketing team, we can give them those same duties, or if we decide to maintain it ourselves, so, or we can give it to the town of Barnstable IT department to do so on our behalf. So it gives us a lot of flexibility.
Do you have any current data on the number of, whatever you call it, hits to the website? And are you going to be doing some comparative analysis once this new website gets going?
Sure. So we don't have data right now, at least for our website, about how many hits the airport gets. Do that through other social media, such as Facebook or Instagram. So they are going to include an optimization program on this new website that will allow us to look at that analytical data, find out where we're getting hit, who's looking at the most information, click on what pages on the airport's website, so that we can understand, if we need to market more in one particular area, or if we need to have more outreach, and just to understand what are people looking to get to our website.
And you kind of brought up something when you talked about Facebook and other social media. It almost seems like websites may be not the most primary way that people get information now, but I guess you still need a landing place. So
right,
it's good to have a good one.
I think what we're trying to do here is the quotient group who we have now, they update our Facebook page and our Instagram page. Obviously, with airport approval, they send us every week, these are the posts that we want to put on. Do you approve? Yes. So they're already working on that. So this would tie it in for the website. It would be an extension of that social media outreach. And I think you do need a landing, for instance, with Port Master, and you need a place for people to go so that they can get information about what's happening at the airport. So we just want to improve upon that by providing a more complete look to our website.
Great. And last question, when do you anticipate the new website to be launched?
They're starting to put together their plan. We will meet with them at the end of March, start on that plan. It's a 4-step process in which we will identify what modifications that we want to make to the program. They'll provide us with some samples, if you will, of what we can anticipate and expect. And then we'll go through other steps, which is making it ADA accessible, making it optimized for search engines. And so those are all parts of the program. And then it would be released within probably about 2 to 3 months after.
Great. Well, I look forward to seeing the new site.
Thank you.
Great question, Vice President Schnapp. Any other? And without that, I really appreciate your vision and your continued branding for especially in this climate. And I think a lot of the things that you and Matt have been able to accomplish at the airport is highly commendable, and especially at the time. And appreciate, and I thought it was great. I think you should have a landing page. I don't know, was I the only one picking up on that pun? So you have landed on our page. So, great. So and again, moving forward, and I think obviously they work together, right? So the social media, but you need that place where you can get the source of information. I love the comparables. I thought that was great. There's a lot of things to take into consideration. We do have plenty of parking in our airport. And it doesn't cost what it costs to park at Logan or even Green Airport.
That's right. That's right. That will be one of our marketing items that we use as well. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I was definitely picking up what you were landing. So good time, enough of my puns. And at this point, if there are any further questions, Madam Clerk, I would move to a vote, please.
Thank you.
Councilors Clark.
Yes.
Cullen.
Yes.
Jagwan.
Yes.
Rapresetti.
Yes.
Hebert.
Yes.
Levesque.
Yes.
Neary.
Yes.
Schnapp.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Steinhilber.
Yes.
Atzelis.
Yes.
Hogan.
Yes.
That passes 12 yes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time, Katie, and thank you for the presentation. Moving on to our next order of business. Councilor Bogan, if you could help me, please read into the record and open the public hearing for item number 2021-073.
Happy to do so, Mr. President. I'd like to open the public hearing on item number 2021-073. It seeks an authorization of a tax increment financing agreement among the town of Barnstable, Wordsmith Inc. Incorporated, and SB Nominee Trust for the property located at 1254 Main Street, Osterville, Massachusetts, located Assessors Map 119 and Parcel 056. As written, this is subject, it's a second reading and subject to a roll call majority.
Second.
Public hearing on item number 2020-073.
If someone has channel 18 on, please shut off your television or mute your microphone, please. And Director Milne, there you are. You are here, and I'm assuming giving the rationale. Or actually, I'm sorry, maybe Director Jenkins would be doing that.
Thank you, President Levesque. Elizabeth Jenkins, Director of Planning and Development, but happy to be backed up by Director Milne for additional questions. In cooperation with the applicant, I will read in the rationale tonight, but Ms. Smith is also here should the council have questions for her as well, or should she wish to provide additional rationale. This is a request to enter into a tax increment financing agreement with Amy and Jim Smith through their associated corporations and trusts. The town can enter into TIF agreements with businesses to support new development and investment and job creation. These negotiated agreements exempt a percentage of the increased value resulting from a new investment for a defined period from taxation. Amy and Jim Smith opened Amy Bakery in downtown Osterville in 2014. And to grow their business, they purchased a property on Main Street in Osterville that was once an abandoned garage and developed a state-of-the-art baking facility and retail bakery. Jim and Amy applied to the town for a TIF in support of this new investment and the jobs that it would produce. The TIF that is being proposed is for 10 years at gradually decreasing percentages with a total value equal to approximately $35,000, with the town still seeing an increase in value of the property over the same period of approximately $54,000. This request has been reviewed twice by the town's tax increment financing committee and been recommended affirmatively twice for approval by the council. Thank you, and again, happy to answer any other.
Okay. Thank you, Director Jenkins, and thank you for Director Milne also being here to answer any questions regarding this item. And thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, for also being here as well. So are there any questions at this point in time? Councilor Atzelis, please.
Sure, it says it in here, but how many new jobs will this create?
Already created.
Yeah. Already created. I will note that this is a little bit unusual in terms of processing, in that this is coming after the fact. The application was delayed for various reasons because of the various circumstances over the past year or so. But Jim and Amy, and you know, I'll let Amy speak to it if she'd rather, did propose not just an expansion of the retail bakery at their new location, but additionally presented in their initial application a proposal to start a baking facility that would provide classes and other educational opportunities for citizens and residents of the town of Barnstable. So while the number of jobs was anticipated to vary, it was an increase over what they saw at their previous location. I believe the number that they anticipated at maximum employment was about 6 employees.
And do they have to maintain those 6 employees in order for this incentive to still hold true?
So the tax increment agreement can impose conditions relative to employment, and often does. The agreement does cite the anticipated number of jobs, but certainly we know under changing circumstances that can vary. So it is written in the agreement at this point as an anticipated number of jobs.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Neary.
The question that I'd like to just put out there is, can we elaborate on, looks like the tax incentive subcommittee voted on this quite a while ago. Could maybe we get some elaboration on what the delay was? And these things usually obviously occur prior to the business structure, let's say, getting off the ground. So maybe we have a little background information on that.
Sure, I can speak to that. So, ultimately we ended up entering into these conversations with Amy and Jim Smith, when they were going through the initial site development process for the bakery. Jim and Amy ran into some unexpected costs associated with opening that bakery that made their projected plan particularly challenging. So sort of through negotiation with the committee that was in place at the time, this was seen as an option to potentially help them find an avenue to keep their business plan on track and address those unanticipated costs. In terms of actually moving the agreement forward, when this was undergoing review, it was determined that there were a number of recommended changes to our standard, sort of our prior standard form TIF agreement. So this took basically several rounds of review to get it to a point where it is tonight.
As this, just to follow up, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Go ahead, Councilor Neary.
As this developed, could it be said that this is integral to moving this business venture forward? And then secondly on that, just as a follow-up, should parcel be changed or sold or whatever, I assume that the TIF agreement ends with that particular vote, should it pass?
So taking your second question first, yes, I mean, the TIF agreement is assigned to the business. So that is the way that agreement was structured. I'll certainly let Amy or her representation speak to the second question, but I will reflect on their application, which again spoke to some of those unanticipated costs that they entered into the process. And again, I guess a conversation moving forward, certainly over the last couple of years, where they anticipated that this relief might be available to them. But I will let them expand on that if they like.
Would you like to expand on that?
Please do.
Well, Mr. President, it's Steve Pizzuti. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I represent the petitioner here. I think it's important to note that Amy really had filed filed this quite some time ago. And I really believe it fell through the cracks. I'm really not sure what Elizabeth is referring to, but I know that this was filed at least a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago. I do want to really make mention of the fact that the town, by the investment that Amy and Jim have made in this property, are going to reap about, I would say, like 35% more in revenue, tax revenue, than what they are going to forfeit by this plan. I mean, this is important in that there are jobs that Amy and Jim are creating here. There's actually seven full-time employees. And I know that this past year, my heart bled for Amy this past year. I mean, she had 4 months of just weekends to actually generate business. She actually, for a portion of the year, there were no employees. She hired all of them back. She was not able to do any weddings this past year. She wasn't able to do any private parties. It was actually excruciating from a business point of view. And she had expected this past year to actually have this tax incentive plan. And she wasn't able to actually reap the benefit of that, probably in a year that she needed it the most. But I think that it's so important to note that Amy is actually creating jobs and actually creating more revenue than the town is actually forfeiting. I think it was 54,000 that the town will actually generate. They're giving up, I think, 34,000 or something along those lines. I don't have the exact, without referring to it and delaying the proceeding. It's an awful long night. Amy's supposed to be making the donuts now, I think. But the long and short of it is she's creating jobs. I know that there was a family I represented. I do want to say this to you because I think it's important. It was an absolutely wonderful, touching thing. I represented a family that moved into Osterville, and they said they had 2 daughters that they were so concerned about because they were pulling them out of their location off Cape. And did I know anybody that could possibly encourage them and maybe find some employment? And one of them, what the mother said was that one of them loved baking. So immediately I thought of Amy. I called Amy and I said, do you have any room for 1 or 2 girls? And do you know that she hired both of them? I got an email from the mother saying how happy she was. They went into the academy. She put them into the academy. She was so concerned about her daughters. And she said, Steve, thank you so much for recommending Amy. My kids are just so happy working there. I mean, Amy not only performs a service by actually creating a school and teaching kids like the 2 daughters, but Amy actually is creating jobs. And I think it's so important. This is such a service that this town is doing for a company like Amy's Bakery. And on behalf of Amy and Jim, her husband, we really thank you. Are there any other questions that we might be able to answer?
Thank you, Attorney Pizzuti. You represent your client well. Obviously, any questions or comments at this point, or if something you want to direct to Attorney Pizzuti, might as well go ahead. And Councilor Bogan, why don't you go first, please?
I'll defer to Councilor Atzelis for the moment.
Okay. Councilor Atzelis.
I might be asking a question for Councilor Neary, but did that answer the first question?
If I may, Mr. President, it really didn't. I didn't. So this is the question is this a make or break item to ensure this business goes forward? I mean, there's PPE loans. I understand COVID. In some ways, I'm just not sure that
this is not just
taxpayers' dollars that we're talking. So I just, to assist to keep.
Sure. Just so, because you directed the question to me, Councilor Neary, I will say that this has been in the process long before COVID. And Councilor Steinheimer, do you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I can speak to this somewhat because I was on the original TIF committee that reviewed this a couple of times, as was alluded to by Director Jenkins. So when this first came before us, we certainly reviewed the job creation. We looked at the educational opportunity. We also felt it was important. There was eliminating blighted property, which is another reason to have the TIF program, kind of incentivize having blight redevelop. But also you got to keep in mind it increases the tax base. Even though you're giving a tax break, we're increasing the tax money that we're taking in. We're getting rid of blight. We're increasing employment. And during the process, there was an unexpected expense. If I remember correctly, it was a significant 5-figure fee that I think came through the fire district, which was not anticipated. And we've heard this before, where all of a sudden at the last minute, there's a big water system fee or a fire fee. And for some of these small businesses, that's game over. And in my mind, in many ways, it's very unfair. So at the time, as we were taking this under advisement, we realized that they were being hit with that very late in the game. And to move this forward, along with all the other items that we considered and talked about thoroughly, this was a way to alleviate, some of that pain as they move forward to, invest and grow this business. So I just wanted to give some of that, background. And as far as the timeline with this coming, later in the game than it normally does, we have done this before. The hotel in front of the Cape Cod Mall, and that again was more of at that time was more of an internal paperwork issue. The folks that aren't with the town anymore, but that was done later in the game too, and it was more of a process filing issue with paperwork. So it's certainly not unprecedented, but I just wanted to give some of the backstory, how we went through this process and the unexpected large fee, which came up very late in the game. So I think for a while now, it's certainly been anticipated that this would help relieve some of that pain so they can move forward with redeveloping that blighted property and growing the business.
Go ahead, Councilor Neary, you want to follow up?
Just a quick follow-up. Thank you, Councilor Steinheimer. That's succinct, it's straightforward, it makes sense, and it helps not only myself, but it helps the public, I think, to really understand the background of what occurred, why this is in front of us. And I appreciate that. That clarifies things. Thank you.
There's been a couple other hands that have gone up, but Councilor Starr, you had your hand up prior, so I just wanted to go to you.
I just had a couple questions, and Amy, this has nothing to do with you and your the process here. A lot of us are new here. This is the first TIF that I've seen come through, so I think we're trying to get our heads around the whole process. And so, has there been have there been other TIFs granted in the last year and a half? Does anybody know that?
There have not been other TIFs.
So I was just wondering why it isn't a program that's used more often.
Yeah, I will note that this is an example of an initiative of the tax increment committee to attempt to draw new small businesses into the town of Barnstable through this incentive. This can be somewhat complicated to navigate, and we do typically see larger businesses try to take advantage of this, but the tax increment committee, or at least prior iterations, really set planning and development, economic development staff out to try to engage small businesses in this program as well. So, I do think this is a good example of fulfillment of that priority of the TIF committee. Can't really answer why, again, why more businesses don't take advantage. But but sort of echoing Councillor Steinhilber's comments, we did spend quite a bit of time going through with that committee to establish expectations and guidelines for review of this application.
So it's, can I follow up? Can I, Mr. President? It says it's the Barnstable County Regional Economic Target Area. But it turns out the whole county is a regional target area. So anywhere in the town of Barnstable, you could apply for a TIF.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Prior iterations of the statute limited it to certain geographies. They changed that program. The state changed that program to broaden those designations several years.
Okay, and one last comment. I'm done. I'll be done. I went back and looked at the meeting of June 25th, 2019. There are no records of meeting for the TIF group. Just to mention that they met twice in 2020. There are no records of any meetings in 2019. Just not on the website. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Starr. We'll go to Councilor Cullen, then Councilor Bogan, then Councilor Heber.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm excited to see you here for this. I was a small business owner for 7.5 years that I'll never get back. I owned a C-Street market, and it was backbreaking work and a labor of love, and nothing teaches you the value of $1 like selling a bag of chips for $1 when you pay 75 cents. So I totally understand when your heart and soul is in something, and I'll be supporting this. And I love using these programs to help small business. I'd much rather help what makes Cape Cod special, which is the mom and pop business. I mean, when you look at Boston during COVID, if you think we're devastated down here, it's an absolute ghost town up there. And the strip malls are suffering, but we're really lucky down here that we have people like you that are willing to invest in our community, and I'm absolutely going to support it. And thank you for your persistence, and good luck. And I'll stop by. I keep driving by. I think it's so beautiful, and I keep saying I'm going to drop by, but you're not open when I go by usually. Oh my God, look at that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cullen. Councilor Bogan, please.
First, let me say, mark this date down in history because I'm going to agree with both Councilors Cullum and Steinhilber.
My God.
To Councilor Neary's question as to whether or not it's integral, we're talking about an industry where 95% of the businesses fail within 5 years. Amy's prior location at Freewiano was right in the center of town. She took a risk, and I remember at the time saying, what is she doing? She's investing and building this large structure on the outskirts of Osterville, at least the business portion. And what she's done is to create not only a state-of-the-art facility, I will add my wife is probably in there 3 times a week, and that might be, love the turkey pesto sandwich. But it extended the business district in an area where, as Councilor Steinhilber said, it was desolate. It was blighted in that area before. So in a perfect world, this would have been effective a year ago. And to her credit, Amy kind of bit her tongue and finally reached out to me about a month ago on a Sunday to express her frustration that this had not been brought over the goal line yet. I forwarded it on to the town manager. He got finance director Milne involved, and 2 days later, I think, Mark, you can correct me, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, he called me and said, we got it done. So I commend those involved for getting it done, and I'm sorry, Amy, that it took so long, because in a perfect world, it would have been effective last year, but at least we got it done and it'll be effective next year.
Thank you, Councilor Hogan. Great comment. Councilor Heber.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And so not to beat this up, Amy, congratulations. It's a beautiful building. I agree with councilors who spoke before me. You took a risk. Food service is just going to be one of the hardest businesses that any of us can do. But you obviously have vision to teach, to increase employment, to give people opportunities for personal growth and creativity. You and James certainly are the epitome of taking that risk and being creative. And I go by your building. It's a beautiful building, well done. Thank you, Amy, and I certainly support this wholeheartedly. Thank
Thank you, Council Hebert. Council Rep Cassetti, please.
I'm not going to belabor it. I just wish we were meeting in person because I have a feeling Amy might have, laid a few cupcakes on us or something. I'm absolutely going to be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Rep Cassetti.
As long as it's under $50 worth of cupcakes, we can take it, right? Individually.
Right.
Yeah.
$49.99, $49.99.
I'll allow it. Okay, so any other comments? I'm in favor of this. I think it's a fantastic facility. I have not been back since the COVID, since the pandemic, but I think I'm long overdue. It was a great spot to go with my daughter and daughter. They loves to bake. So well appointed as well. So it looks like a fun place and a fancy place to take my daughter on a less expensive date, so to speak, where she enjoys herself. So if anybody else is out there, it's a great idea. And but I did obviously want to thank you for being here, and Attorney Pizzuti as well. Amy, Jane, thanks for your time and thank you for your patience. So if there's no other further discussion, I would move to a vote, please.
Counselors, Pelham,
Yes.
Gagline,
Yes.
Rep Rossetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzelis,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark. Passes 12 yes.
Excellent. Bravo. Thank you. And again, thank you for your patience. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President and councilors. As a taxpayer, I really appreciate the time and effort that you put in on behalf of all the citizens of Barnstable. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Pizzuti. Great to see you again.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
Good night, Jim and Amy.
Good night. Thank you so much. I appreciate everything. Really means a lot to us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very tough.
Good luck in 2021.
Come and see us.
I think you'll be seeing a few of us, I'm sure.
That's right. Great. I'll look forward to it. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to the next order. Councilor Neary, can help me please read into the record item number 2021-074 and open the public hearing.
Okay, I've got it. Thank you, Mr. President. This is old business. It's a second reading, requiring a public hearing and a roll call majority vote. It's item number 2021-074. It's a supplemental appropriation order in the amount of $37,726 for the Barnstable Police Department's fiscal year 2021 operating budget. This is for the purpose of funding the expenses related to hiring and equipment purchases for 3 new patrol officers. As written.
Second.
First and a second. And we have Chief Sonoben with us for the rationale.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council, Chief Donovan, Barnstable Police Department, speaking about item number 2021-074, supplemental appropriation to the Barnstable Police Department operating budget in the amount of $37,726 for the FY21. At the time we applied for our FY21 budget, we did not know what vacancies were going to be, our retirements were going to pace out. So these are expenses that were not included in our original FY21 operating budget. This supplemental appropriation will support the hot filling of 3 current patrol officer vacancies. 2 officers are slated to go to the Plymouth Police Academy starting on March 1st, and 1 police officer who is currently working for another civil service department in Massachusetts is slated to transfer to the Barnstable Police Department early spring once he's completed his obligations with his other department. These funds will be used to fund to various things in the hiring process, like medical exams, psychological exams, equipment, radios, ammunition, firearms, and things like that, academy tuition, books, and uniforms. With this appropriation, we'll be able to make these hiring arrangements. This will be coming out of the general fund, and it will not be added to our FY22 base operating budget one-time event.
Excellent. Thank you for the rationale, and it is a public hearing. Sarah, do we have anybody looking to comment on this item?
There's no public comment at this time.
Okay, and I'll close the public hearing. Any council discussion, any questions for Jonathan? Okay. Seeing none, I would move to a vote.
Counselors, Dagwan,
Yes.
Ralph Pressetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzelis,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum.
Yes.
That passes 12 yes.
Excellent. Thanks for being with us, Chief Sonnabend.
Thank you very much, and have a great evening.
You as well. Keep bringing on great police officers to the town of Barnstable.
We will. Thanks for your support.
Absolutely. That ends, I think that is the last item in old business. Now we move on to new business. Councilor Clark, if you can help me with this item, number 2021-075.
Pleasure, thank you, President Levesque. This is new business to be acted upon by majority vote. Item number 21-075. Transfer order in the amount of $108,000 from the town council operating reserve fund for fiscal year 2021 Sandy Neck Enterprise Fund operating budget. Purchase sand for replenishment of Sandy Neck Park so soon.
Second.
The first and the second, and I believe we have Nina Coleman with us for the rationale. Hi, Nina.
Good evening, Nina Coleman, Sandy Neck Park Manager and Director of Natural Resources. I'm here this evening to request an emergency appropriation for $108,000 for sand to be placed in front of our parking lot to protect our infrastructure. This request is as a result of two storms that occurred, one in December and then one in early February. These are the same storms that you may have read about in the paper that wreaked havoc on the Sandwich area, where houses are having issues along the same coastline as Neck. The engineering department determined that we need 3,000 cubic yards of sand in order to shore up our dune. And we have permits in place and are ready to move forward if this is approved and expedite this project. We're requesting funds to be taken from our Sandy Neck surplus. And as you know, Sandy Neck is an enterprise account. The funds that we're requesting are from user fees and not the general fund. I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Nina. Much appreciated. Any questions? Councilor Schnapp.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Nina. It looks from the background paragraph in the rationale that 6 out of the last 8 years we've had to bring sand in. Do you anticipate that this is going to be an annual event, or is there any way that we can move in a different direction so that we're not filling the sandbox and it goes out the next year?
Yes, absolutely. We have been having to place sand multiple times since 2013. For this project, we're at and after this project, we would be over $500,000. So that is obviously not a sustainable way to continue protecting our infrastructure. There is a fiscal 22 CIP that's been drafted that could be looking to secure funding for design and permitting to continue the alternative analysis that occurred in 2016, which was able to quantify that the best approach to that alternative analysis was push the parking lot back. So we are putting in a CIP for 2022 to evaluate that again, because it's been a number of years, look at potential other alternatives, and for just design and permitting of the final solution, because there does need to be a solution. Obviously, our shoreline continues to be pushed back through climate change, and at some point we do need to have a more solid solution so that we don't have to continue to stand.
Thank you.
Councilor Hebert, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nina, thank you. But if we were to move the parking lot back, that means that the erosion is going to continue, and then the next thing that gets hit is the what I call the snack bar and the building that's there. So is the projection that eventually we will lose that building if we don't do something that's really alternative?
The alternative analysis decided to look at a 50-year time period. So there was a look at the sand movement in front of Sandy Neck. There was a projection on shoreline change for a period of 50 years. And the parking lot was pushed back from that line. And that line is right along our new bathhouse. So yes, shoreline change will continue, I think, and that's inevitable. But this was a way to protect our infrastructure, get another 50 years out of what we have already invested in. And then hopefully there'll be new technologies in the future, to continue addressing the issues there. But really the problem right now is the shoreline has receded back, and we've been placing sand in front of that. So basically you have a sort of a sore thumb sticking out into the, towards the water. And so every one of these storms, we lose that sand. So ultimately, whatever the final solution is, we do have to address the fact that the sand is not sustainable.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Mexico, Councilor Starr.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Coleman. So is it possible we could have a storm, say, next week and start to lose part of the parking lot? I mean,
Absolutely.
Could we lose 10 feet? Yes?
Yeah,
okay.
Yes. This isn't as much in peril as it's been in the past. Nemo was the year that was a little bit terrifying. Right now, although we lost a considerable amount of sand, we still do have a nice chunk of sand in front of our parking lot. If you look at it, it's still a high volume of sand.
Right.
So we need to shore that up. But yes, a very big storm like a blizzard of 78.
So it seems like the prudent thing to do would be to get the permits, decide on a plan and get the permits ready. So in case money came along from infrastructure, larger, federal money or something. So if we were set and ready to go, we may come to a point where we have to do this more quickly than not. That makes sense?
100%. And I think, this potential ask for 2020 CIP money for design and permitting does in fact position us in a better position, in a better place in case we do have that big storm. It also gets the ball rolling for potential grant sources. So, Sandy Neck hits many bells and whistles when you go after a grant, just because of the high marquee of our beautiful Sandy Neck. But you add, you add
right.
the word resiliency, and you add, some of these other sort of buzzwords. I think that we would be positioned well to try to have the design and permitting supplement.
So yeah, so if it was like it was shovel ready, it looks better. Or we can jump on grants.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Starr. Any other questions? Director Coleman. Okay, thank you for being with us. Appreciate the input. Without any further discussion, I would move to a vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilors, Rapresetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzelis,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Oh,
You're really forgetting me tonight, aren't you?
no, I didn't hear Chris Clark. I'm sorry.
Councilor Clark hadn't responded.
I didn't respond
Councilor
now.
Starr.
Dag one.
Yes.
It passes 12 yes.
Okay, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. So thank you again, Director Coleman, for being with us and for that pass. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us. Take care.
Take care.
Councilor Starr, can you read into the record 2021-076 and refer to a public hearing on March 4th, 2000?
Yes, sir. This is new business, number 2021-076, supplemental appropriation order in the amount of 37 in wages for the fiscal year 2021 Golf Enterprise Fund operations. Referred to a public hearing, March 4th, 2021.
Thank you. We got a first and a second. And again, this is referred to a public hearing. Madam Clerk, we move to a vote, please.
Okay, councilors. Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy, Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzelis,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Bagwan,
Yes.
Rapresetti.
Yes.
That is passes 12 yes.
Thank you. Councilor Dagwan, could you please help me by reading item number 2021-077 and refer to a public hearing on March 4th, 2021?
Thank you, Mr. President. Under new business, item 2021-077, a supplemental appropriation order in the amount of $5,000 for the fiscal year 2021 airport operating budget for the purpose of funding the administrative costs associated with the airport master plan update planning project. This item is being referred to a public hearing on 3/4/2020.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Dagwan. We got a first and a second. And can we move to a vote, please, Madam Clerk?
Councilors. Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzelis,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Bagwan,
Yes.
Rapresetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
passes 12 yes.
Thank you. Next item of business, Councilor Atzelis, if you could please help me, item number 2021-078, refer to a public hearing on March 4th, 2021.
Under new business, item number 2021-078, supplemental appropriation order in the amount of $470,000 for fiscal year 2021 Airport Enterprise Fund operating budget for the purpose of purchasing aviation jet fuel for resale. For a public hearing on March 4th, 2021, as written.
Second.
First and a second, thank you. And Madam Clerk, for a vote, please.
Counselors, Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzelis,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Gagwan,
Yes.
Raffersetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque.
Yes,
That passes 12 yes.
excellent. Thank you, everybody. Councilor Hebert, if you could help me, please, item number 2021-079.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 2021-079, acceptance of a fiscal year 2021 grant in the amount of $154,140 from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Elder Affairs to support staff salaries and programs of the Barnstable Council on Aging Division. This may be acted upon a roll call majority.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Hebert. First and a second, and we have Director Noonan with us for the rationale. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. Madeline Noonan, Director of Community Services. Good evening, President Levesque, members of the Town Council. I'm very happy to be with you here tonight for this grant acceptance. Each year, the Executive Office of Elder Affairs grants a formula grant to each community in Massachusetts, and it's based on the number of adults over the age of 60. So even though we're in FY21, the state is still using census data from the 2010 census, and this is based on a $12 per resident in Barnstable over 60, which in census 2010, we had 12,845. So essentially, this is a level funded grant, same amount as last year. It's $154,140. And these funds are used primarily to offset staffing costs. They fund a number of positions, including our activity coordinator, our marketing and events coordinator, our outreach coordinator, our custodian, and also are used for ancillary expenses, including the cost of mailing our newsletter and other associated costs of maintaining the Barnstable Adult Community Center and providing services to our older adults. So we're very grateful to the state for providing this continued funding that's really essential for us to provide the level of services that our community and our residents are used to.
Excellent. Thank you for that rationale. Any questions for Director Noonan?
I have a question. No, I just, I'm looking at the number of 12,000, and we're in the middle of COVID, and we're talking about vaccines, and there are more than 12,000 people over 75, I think, in the town. So
Actually,
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We're 10 years behind.
These numbers are far behind where we currently lie. As far as our 75 plus population, based on our municipal census data, we have about 6,000 residents over 75, probably closer to 16,000 residents over the age of 60. So it's going to be interesting next year when the state has to sort of recalibrate this formula, because there's going to be a net increase, obviously, in the older adults in the state. And we're going to see some shifts to this funding beginning with next year's allocation.
Thank you.
Great observation, Councilor Starr. Thank you for the response, Director Noonan. Any other councilor questions, comments? Okay, not seeing any. Move to a vote, please. Madam Clerk.
Counselors, Kemp,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzelis,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Gagwan,
Yes.
Raffersetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes. Get that? Yes.
thank you, 12 yes, that passes.
Excellent.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And Councilor Cullum, if you could help me with item number 2021-080.
Yes, item 2021-080, acceptance of a substance abuse prevention collaborative grant, amount of $2,400 for Barnstable County Department of Human Services for the 2021 7th grade youth summit, may be acted upon with a roll call majority.
Second.
First and a second. Right back to Director Noonan with the rationale, please.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here to request that you accept this grant from Barnstable County Department of Human Services. This is a substance abuse prevention collaborative grant of $2,400 that will be used to fully fund the cost of our keynote speaker for this year's 7th grade youth summit that will be happening on March 3rd. It's going to be a virtual event this year. Our youth commission and our recreation division are very excited again to bring this, extremely important event to our community and really help our adolescents understand, the impacts of the decisions that they're making, particularly related to substance abuse and peer pressure. So we have a very exciting speaker this year that Patty Machado was able to obtain. His name is Cliff Crosby. I'm not a football fan, but I'm sure you may have known him as a former Super Bowl champion. I know he played for the Rams and the Colts, so I do know that much. He's going to give a very motivational talk called Your Actions Create Your Tomorrow. And I think this is a really wonderful, inspirational event to bring to our youth, particularly during this challenging, ongoing pandemic that's affecting, a lot of mental health aspects relative to our younger community members. And this funding makes it possible for us to be able to bring this event again this year. So I want to thank Patty Machado and the Youth Commission for all of their hard work in putting this event together.
Thank you.
Thanking Barnstable County Department of Human Services for their support.
Excellent. Definitely something I've attended, and I look forward to attending virtually this year. So any counselor comment, question? It's a worthy cause. It's something that we've done, and I'm happy to hear that we're going to continue to make it happen, even if it's virtually. And I'm sure they'll do the best to make it interactive and interesting for the kids, so that they'll definitely have something to take away from them as they move into the high school years. I just want to say a little shout out for Patty Machado and her staff, and of course Deputy Chief Callis for all of her hard work and making things happen as well. So, and if there's no other further comment, I would move to a vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Counselors, Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzelis,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Clark. Yes. Cullum,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rapresetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary, Paul,
All, Neary?
Yes.
Shep.
Yes.
That passes 12 yes.
Excellent.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Director Noonan. Great to have you. Appreciate your rationale on those two items. Thank you. Have a great night.
Take care. You too. Bye-bye.
Moving on to the next order of business. Councilor Rapresetti, if you could please help me with item number 2021-081 and refer to a public hearing for March 4th, 2020.
Absolutely. This is new business. Item 2021-081, appropriation order in the amount of $70,000 for community data and visioning project consultant in support of a local comprehensive plan update. Refer to a public hearing on 3/4/2021 as written.
Second.
First and a second. Referring to a public hearing on March 4th, 2021. And we can have a vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Counselors, Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzelis,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Clark. Yes. Cullum,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Rapisetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Dar.
Yes.
Passes 12 yes.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. I believe this is the last order of business. Vice President Schnapp, please help me. Item number 2021-082 and refer to a public hearing for March 4th, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an item of new business referring to a public hearing on March 4th, 2021. Item number 2021-082, appropriation order in the amount of $92,945 for the treatment of the invasive species hydrilla in Long Pond, Centerville, and Mystic Lake and Middle Pond in Marston's Mills.
Second.
And first and a second, and again, we're referring to a public hearing on March 4th, 2021. Madam Clerk, Ann Quirk.
Counselors Atzelis,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark. Yes. Cullum,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Rapisetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Dar,
Yes.
Steinhilber.
Yes.
Passes 12 yes.
Excellent. That concludes the orders of the day. I just want to thank everybody for participating tonight. There was great work done, great information with the Cape Cod Commission and obviously our staff, wonderful staff that was able to answer the call, kind of be on the spot during public comment. So again, thank you to all the directors who participated in that. Without further ado, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
The first and the second, roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Counselors Bogan,
Yes.
Clark. Yes. Cullum,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
Rapisetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Dar,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzelis.
Yes.
That is unanimous 12.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Thank you, Town Clerk.
Night.
Good night, everyone. Take care. If you drive, drive safe.
Drive safe, Matt. Drive safe.
Yeah.